All right, we are live. Hello, hello, hello. Here's Angelus representing for the Gray Pill Podcast. I appreciate all y'all guys coming through. We had a great conversation about an hour ago that lasted over 2 hours. I didn't expect it, but that's how good conversations go, right? We are going to be having a. Oh my, I am literally hearing an echo on my end. Okay, cool. So we're going to have a great conversation. I'll be discussing about marital standards. What is marital standards to you? What is marital standards to everybody else? Like, let's have that conversation. So I want to give a special shout out to Jedi Mike. He got a little bit sick. He was going to be our guest. So DL Saint is doing me a favor. He's chiming in to have the conversation. Classic Ruby, my host, she will be a little bit late. So the other ladies that came in, they're going to sit here and have a conversation. When I introduced the two, because I know I had talked about them earlier. They're going to explain something about what they do. So again, because I know people in the YouTube spaces don't understand a lot of stuff with the rules, policies, and yeah, that's pretty much it. So I appreciate y'all guys. Let's go.
At last.
King's back in the throne's mine. The future's here and it's my time. Straight shot, going for the head with it. Take his head off and say that I did it. Good riddance. Say hi to the bad guy, I'm back in business. If you took what's mine, I'm back to get it. There's nothing you can do, I'm back with vengeance. Now turn me loose. Now turn me loose.
Allah, that get me pumped up every freaking time. All right, so the first person, the special guest I'm gonna bring up, had a great conversation earlier. I knew her from, let's say, the wrong end of the sticks, but we are casual YouTube associates, and I appreciate her thoughts all the time, even though her space is a little bit extra wacky for me, but I still fight it through and give the support. So I'm going to go ahead and introduce Miss Ashley. How we doing? How we doing, lady?
Hey, I'm so good. How are you?
I'm good. How was your fourth weekend? Did you do anything or you just chilled?
I sang karaoke last night. Had a good time. There's fireworks going on outside right now, but I'm kind of laying low tonight. So perfect opportunity to hop on a podcast.
Same here.
Glad to finally make one.
Okay, I appreciate it. So are you like a consistent karaoke person? Is this like a are you new to
karaoke.
It? Really? Okay.
I do.
Okay. You remind me of my friend that passed away. She just always go to karaoke 24/7. Okay. Good deal. Okay. Do you have like a favorite song?
I don't know. Last night I sang Toxicity by System of a Down. So I like to do a lot of like heavy metal or rock songs to just kind of surprise the audience because I like to surprise people.
Okay.
I'm not your everyday Ashley.
that makes sense. Okay, now it makes sense now. Okay, cool. Yeah. All right, so it was something that I wanted you to explain a little bit on because you did content earlier about the the copyright strikes and how you can help people with that. And that was something interesting we talked in Discord about. And so I think there's a good opportunity because I was going to literally just share it. But if you want to expound upon that a little bit to help out with people and the viewers.
Yeah. So I don't want to get too into detail because I don't want to rehash any of this that's been settled,
Correct.
But there was a little bit of a back and forth between me and another YouTuber. And anyways, because of he didn't, I guess, for whatever reason, there was retaliation against my channel by false copyright strikes, which I don't know if anybody knows much about that. But basically, if you copyright strike someone else's video, YouTube really doesn't have the resources to thoroughly investigate that. So when you strike someone's channel, you basically sign an affidavit of sorts saying that this information is legally and, legally true to the best of your knowledge, and you're saying that they are completely ripping off your material, YouTube will then put a strike on that person's channel. It doesn't matter. Like, they'll do it. And so if you get 3 of these, then your channel will be terminated. And that's what happened to me. It was really unfortunate. It really kind of stressed me out a little bit because I had, had it. It was right before my year anniversary. It's a long time. And it was, well over 4,500 streaming hours. It's just crazy, like, amount of content that would be gone forever. So anyways, I just decided, like, no, I'm like, screw this. I'm not going to lay down and take it. And I just did some research, and I ended up filing my own, I guess, basically counterclaim against that. I appealed it, so to speak. And I did so by looking at a lot of different websites. I quoted a lot of different, I know, Grey Pill, you saw it. Like, I quoted a lot of actual former court cases where people have used others' material and what actually qualifies as fair use. And anyway, I ended up winning my appeal. So I do have a video about that to show you exactly step-by-step how to do it. And I do offer help for anybody that wants that. I have an email address that I can hand out if you need help with fighting your own false copyright strike claim. I'm so happy to send you a template free of charge. I don't care. It's just not fair. And I'm all about, creative freedom. I don't think that we should silence others just because we disagree with their thoughts or opinions. I think that controversy can be healthy. So that's that.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. Yeah. And definitely, I will make sure the actual link of the video to explain that will be in the link below. Also, when she gives out an email, I will put that also there too. But you could definitely check her out. She was in the chat earlier, so we'll have all that down below so you can look for it. All right.
Thank you.
No problem. What's going on, Miss Inky?
Oh, hello.
You're good. You got this. Thank you. There's a little bit of fan. So, Miss Inky, can you please explain this? Mine's up there, if you don't mind. I'm going to drop her link and everything else below. So any donations, if you send something to the Grey Pill Podcast Super Chat, or if you just send it to her, everything's going to be donated sent to Inky for a great cause. Because I was on her platform before, and it was like I said, I like to visit spaces. I was in this Canadian space, and somehow it veered over, and I found Inky, and we just fumbled across this great conversation. And then, sometimes conversations get derailed with random people just come on just saying random stuff, and I was like, okay, this sucks. So left off, I actually looked for your channel, I saw it, and you had like this random stuff, and I feel like as far as content goes on the gamer side, we had like a lot in common. That's okay, cool, and had a great conversation again. Just sparked up hours of conversation, and you was telling me about what your cause is. So if you don't mind, please explain your cause to the viewers and where they can find it and donate, because I think it's a really great cause. And even for the future, from this point on, anything that I get far as cash apps will go strictly there.
Okay, well, that's no problem. Are you able to hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So my name's Rhea. I am the founder of Tainted Ink organization. It's an organization for women and families. This includes men that have been in a domestic violence situation, whom have animals. So say you've been in a domestic violence situation and you have your therapy dog or cat, whatnot. You are unable to actually find temporary housing with like battered women's shelters or, domestic violence shelters. They don't allow pets. And so my main goal is to set up housing throughout. I'm originating in California, but I would like it to grow across the U.S. for larger states, to have at least 2 that people can go to that can utilize those resources. We will have therapy, housing, all the accommodations that a typical battered shelter would have, except for we would also like to add in the fact that you can bring your pet.
Okay, thank you. I really appreciate that.
A lot of people have lost pets because of, not being able to take them with them.
Oh, fair enough. And Miss O'Shoon, if anybody never haven't seen her, she's been a regular here before. Seen her before on her end while I like just a little bit. I like to poke the bear with her in conversations. So she has no problem debating, having conversation with people. I promise you she don't. Very passionate about stuff she believes in and what she agrees on. Yeah. And I don't know, maybe we might bring Angela over again or Lauren over again. We don't know. But yeah, so I appreciate you, Lola.
You're welcome. Glad to be here. And yes, I come from an argumentative background, but not arguing. Like I like actual points. Like some people think I get in my personal life and I'm just arguing. And it's like, okay, most of the people in my life are not intellectuals that want to debate history and stuff like that. So yeah.
Okay, because I know it was something you and what's her name, Mrs. She said did, because I actually wanted to take the time out to review that because I thought that was a very interesting conversation. So you know, so I thank you. And last but not least, the man of the hour, the one everybody thought we hated each other. Now we YouTube besties.
Facts.
Go figure.
They came to see a fight, but it came after school. The playground was packed, boy.
The gray and the reds. What's going on, man?
What's good, fam? What's good, y'all? I'm DL Saint. I go by the DL Saint on YouTube. I'm just an old man sitting in his attic talking to a computer, and I like to talk about a lot of stuff I've been through. Thanks again for having me on, bro. I'm truly honored to be here, man. I ain't gonna lie to you, bro. Like I'm happy to be here. I look forward to working with you in the future, bro. I like what I'm seeing. I like what I'm hearing. I'm a vet. Once upon a time, I was in the military. You see that flag behind me. I was a paratrooper. Yes, I used to jump out of airplanes to get at the enemy. That was my thing. People like, oh my God, you'll be surrounded. Like, well, I'm a paratrooper. We're supposed to be surrounded. Because of that, you know what I mean? I'm a Desert Storm veteran. Because of that, I ain't good on the 4th of July and I ain't good on New Year's Eve. I'm normally in the house on those 2 days. I'm just not happy with a whole lot of loud zip pops going on around me. Now, especially now, you know what I mean? My nerves are bad, y'all. I'm just, it is what it is. So I'm normally in the house on like, so it's a perfect night tonight. I'm like, just my third podcast, right? You know, when Suzette speaking and you twice, I'm like, I could do 2 more. West Coast is still up. Australia's still up. We can keep going all night. But thanks for having me, brother. I look forward to this conversation.
Anytime, man. And and first of all, thank you for serving this country, because I ain't gonna lie, I didn't have the balls to do it in high school. I did RTC all the 4 years. Looked good in the suit, but I wasn't getting out. I wasn't taking that next step. I just wasn't. So thank you for doing something that we couldn't do.
Hey, my pleasure, bro. It's all good.
All right, so let's get this conversation cracking. So I appreciate everybody in the chat. Definitely appreciate everybody chiming in, even from the panel. Definitely appreciate Tree TV Radio. Appreciate my man Shot, because I heard him say earlier he's from Jersey, so you know how we do. Brick City all day. The Cynical one, appreciate you. Stick around for it's gonna be a great conversation. So definitely stick around for that. Lady Navoa, one of our great moderators. I appreciate her. Even when I took a month break, actually 2. The first one was April, was my birth month. So I was like, I don't do nothing for nobody. It's my month. The second was May, and I was like, let me get the band back together. So here we are now. So she just kept asking, like, hey, are you coming back live? Are you coming back live? Are you coming back live? I'm like, yeah, I am. I'm on panels right now. I'm coming back. And now here we are. We're going to get some work together, family. We're going to get some work together. Appreciate Miss Michelle. Thank you for chiming on through. I know you're going to have some great insight. I definitely also checked your content out and your description too. So you got a brain on your shoulders. You definitely got a brain on your shoulders. And very low key, I don't want to say she's passive aggressive, but the way she carries herself, it's like you want to get mad, but you can't get mad, but somehow it triggers people for some reason. It's weird. So thank you. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, well, just to make a point, Inky has like about an hour, so she's gonna give me a heads up in the private chat when she can dip out. So I'm gonna make sure she has her time to give her final words on the conversation, and then she's gonna exit stage left. And then hopefully that will be the time, give enough time for Classic Ruby to come in. She's from All That News. You will love her, DL, and actually a great brain to pick out. She's very long-winded with a lot of conversation, but full of information. So she has a partner over her end called All That News, where they talk about a lot of political stuff. And maybe your favorite, actually, was the transmaxing. Transmaxing. So that was a whole thing. Somehow I got in the middle of it on knowledge and relationship. And it was like, yeah, Grey Pill, you was a part. I was like, no, that's not my lane. Somebody brought it up. They had that conversation. like me and Dia pretty much on that same way. We went the baseline of the pills. We don't go no deeper than that.
No deeper than that.
No.
I have had several debates on transgender topics. Yeah.
Okay,
That's
so you
crazy.
would love
Like,
her.
when you
You would
said
love
that, bro, you was like, what, transmaxing? I almost said pause. I'm like, ooh, you got in between that. Ooh, pause.
Yeah, it's a whole thing. She deep dive on it. Even one of the people that was viral that is a maxer actually came on and had a discussion. So I'll definitely send that
Nice.
link in the Discord. That was
I would love
shocking.
that. Yeah.
It was shocking.
Absolutely.
Very shocking. All right. So gonna ask the basic question. So marriage standards, marital standards, like do we have an idea what that is? Because usually most people just like, look, I see a hot chick, quarter or vetter, or just like, hey, let's be girlfriend and boyfriend. Propose to her, bend on one knee. That's the basic, right? The guy bends on one knee, get proposed to her, get engaged, go through that little time. Sometimes it's just like, hey, let's jump the broom, or we might do the proper way, take some time, get the family, the friends, everybody else. Some people are like, hey, you know what? Let's just screw it. Let me and Ashley just run hands together and take a trip up to Hawaii, get married there, and come back and surprise the family. Ta-da! We're married. It's Mrs. Greypill. So, what do y'all guys think is marital material, marital standards? What do y'all think?
You got to call who goes first, baby. You got, you know.
Hey, we adults here. We adults here. What we do high school? Okay. Inky.
Oh, why do I gotta go first? Marital standards. I'm an old fashioned. I don't know what color pill I am. I'm just old fashioned. So I think that you shouldn't be out test driving the car before you buy it. Not to mean that like you can't get to know each other on a basis of. Please don't hate me for this, but to spend time getting to know each other and learning each other, and like the things, like the little things that may bother, the little things, like, so say someone doesn't put the top of the toothpaste back on, right?
Mm-hmm.
It may not bother you at that moment because you're in the whole
Honeymoon phase.
Mm-hmm. But 5 years down the road, you'd be like, why do you do that? It's leaking out all over the counter. So all those little things, like, you get to know each other on a basis. And so the honeymoon phase kind of fades off. And you can really figure out if you know that person well enough to even get into that type of relationship, and as a long-term thing. So that's where I think that it starts at, in my opinion. And then, of course, like monogamy. And I think if what I'm reading is correct, because I'm trying to catch up on this,
Mm-hmm.
and from what you stated, I think there's just areas that I think it could be the demise of a lot of marriages. Exactly like in this instance. Like, if they're okay with it, I get it. But what if they change their mind later on and they're not okay with it? Then it's too late.
Okay, that's fair. Oshun.
Okay, so let me say this first. I am not married, all right? So when I speak as an outsider based on the marriages I have had access to, and generally the idea of choosing someone. So take everything I say with a grain of salt. Um, all right, marital standards. Okay, first of all, culture plays a big part in your marital status, marital status, and marital standards. Uh, all over the world is different. Is very different, from the Middle East to California to the jungles of Cambodia. Like, marital standards are very different. Don't get me wrong. There's common threads, but standards is very different depending on the circumstances and the culture you find yourself in. So I don't want to berate that point, but to speak directly to, let's say, Western marital status, which includes Europe, if I'm not mistaken, in the Americas, here we've culturally got away from our parents choosing for us. So the standard of marriage isn't based on political alliances between families to survive. So that standard now is no longer a thing. It's just not needed. So what is needed now is more of a focus on the individual happiness or the individual congealing, right? Because before it didn't matter if you got along with your spouse, just as long as the family ties were correct and politics was running fine, cool. But now people can say I'm happily married versus before that was just something that wasn't common, being happily married, like, or finding someone that quote really loves you. That was a rare thing. Now that's more of a standard. Like, to get married, the standard is, does this person love you enough to get married to you? Versus in the past, culturally, there was no conversation of if or this person loves you. That was of no concern. So, love being as infinite as it is, as part of a standard in the West, I think that creates. I mean, it's good. Don't get me wrong, but I think as a standard, it's like a double-edged sword. It brings people together while at the same time, because we don't quite understand how to love in this Western society because of history. We're still, as a species, trying to understand how to actually come together genuinely, and that takes a few hundred years. I'm going to be honest with you. We about 5 minutes out from the worst time in human history, so we're still trying to figure it out. And I said this on the last podcast I was on, that I consider this time in human history the new Renaissance, because there's so many things that is changing with our culture that we're still trying to get used to, and questions we're trying to ask in relation to how we relate to relationships with, individually, communal. You see what I'm saying? Like, it's big arguments going on there. So we're still in the thick of it. But to say, well, we don't have any standards, we do. We just have new standards that we're still trying to work the kinks out, because to say you have to be able to provide, right, is a standard. However, if you have a social system that is kind of working against that, it's almost like, well, human society is stifled simply because of just how it operates. So that's in part why I said we're still trying to work those kinks out to get to a point where we have standards and people live by those standards and they thrive as a result. Right now, we're not thriving because of our standards. We're kind of like baby birds just trying to figure out how to stay afloat. We're not really flying right. We're just not dropping right now. Well, most of us are not dropping right now, right? Because we're single. So that's why. But I like the idea of having standards. However, that's a slippery slope, because as a country, as a culture, there's standards, right? But individually, we have our own familial standards, and that can differ. And so when we say, well, marital standards is you only have sexual relations with your spouse, that's a standard. However, what if you're in your culture individually, you have multiple spouses? What if you and your spouse are a part of a community where there is no such thing as just, sex with one person? Like, it depends on a lot.
All right, hold on, because that's a whole deep dive.
I know, that's why I said
yeah.
I'm not going to go into it, but that's what I'm saying. To say standard, we can talk about standards from a communal standpoint, or we can talk about standards from an individual standpoint, which will always differ. Neither is right or wrong, but right now in society, we're still trying to work the kinks out of what's a good standard for our current circumstances in 2023 versus the standard that was there in 1948.
Yeah, that's fine. Just let everybody else get their thoughts out, then we kind of like
come back.
pick around. Yeah, we can pick around that. Actually, you, madam.
Yeah. Miss Oshun, I loved a few things you said. I agree. We are on the precipice of another great downfall. And I also agree that we are cresting a period of enlightenment. I totally agree with you. We are right there in history, 100%. So it's kind of a beautiful tragedy, sort of, that we are getting to witness this epic moment in human society. Personally, that's how I feel. Now, the standards on marriage, again, I'm going to agree with Ms. Oshun. Like, there are societal standards and individual standards. One thing that's, in my opinion, is beautiful about Western society now is that we are evolving and moving and transitioning, and and opening our horizons to the point to where it's a lot more acceptable to have those individual standards. And so for individual standards, personally, how I feel is going to be kind of very, very generic. And I'm sorry to kind of, disappoint anybody, but it's going to be whatever works for you and your spouse, you and your partner, you and your children, you and your household is what I believe should be supported. So if that is a marriage to more than one person, if that is a marriage to a person of the same sex, if that is a marriage to someone that, one person believes that they can have multiple partners and the other doesn't, as long as everybody agrees and they're happy, as long as it doesn't infringe on anyone's human rights, and as long as it doesn't cause any type of emotional or physical damage or abuse, I think that it's okay and it's healthy. Me personally, my feelings, I don't believe in marriage anymore. I'm divorced. I was married 12 years. I personally will never get married again. Never say never. I don't give a shit. Like, I will never get married again. I'm cool. I'm good. And I just believe in non-monogamy. I'm a very non-monogamous person personally, but I just believe in respect on everybody's level. So I guess that would just be my quick little surmise of that.
Okay. I got a question to what you were saying, but let me share this video since everybody got their own idea. I'm sorry, DL. You go ahead, sir, and what's your standards, and then I'll play this on clip that I saw earlier.
All right. I mean, our society has come to a crossroads, so to speak. Like we're evolving as a society. You know what I mean? It's more pronounced in first world nations than it is in second and third world nations. Technology has gotten to a point where there's just certain things that people don't need. There's certain things that, men and women don't need to adhere to the traditional way of doing business. Why? Because we're not tilling the land. We don't need 18, 6, 7, 12 kids to help us make money or stay alive by tilling, farming or, or working in the plant or doing whatever. We're there, right? We are one dumb decision away from one dude. Like, Vladimir Putin can wake up tomorrow and do something stupid with regards to his nuclear arsenal, and that's it. Game over. We all lose, right? It's just we're that close, but we're also this close to having a Brave New Star Trek Federation type world where everyone is fed and everyone is educated properly and everyone understands that the world's not flat. And then when you get into that world, when science rules, that could be a great utopia. But we haven't gotten to either, but we can go either way. With respect to relationships, especially in the West. You know what I mean? Like a lot of people aren't ready for it. Again, I'm the type of person, I deal with what the situation is on the ground. Like, and what we're about to get into is going to be a good conversation. There are a lot of dudes out here who are like, yeah. This sounds good. I want to do this. I want to do this. Why? Because they're trying to still win the affections of a woman. They still want to have that access to, sexual, what's the term they normally use? They want to have reliable sexual access with the woman. They'll do and say anything to get that. Right. And that's where we are. These dudes are saying this is great. But, in reality, is it? I mean, is it great? You can only deny who you are for so long. And people don't have a problem lying. So if you cool with that, great. Whatever that is, great. But if you're not quite sure what your mission is and you didn't know yourself, you know what I mean? You're going to be looking at a very, very, very uphill battle with the rest of your life because you made a decision that you really wasn't married to, when you were very, very young. So, and I think that I think we pretty much set the stage for this conversation. It's going to be a good one.
Yes, sir. So I want to share this video. So anybody haven't heard of No Jumper, Adam 22, a podcaster, old skater, had a relationship with his 7-year relationship with his girlfriend, recently decided to get married, took the leap of faith with the jump of the broom. But in their 7-year relationship, they've been doing, private XXX video flicks together as a couple. Once they got married, they decided to say, hey, to my wife, you can go ahead and do a P flick by yourself with a random dude. So it went viral all over the place about it. People's talking about it. People saying their standards is a little bit standoffish. This is not the way to be. Some people saying, hey, I don't want to put words in people's mouth, but I want to have everybody have time to address it. So I'm going to share this right here. And again, thank y'all guys for coming through. If you're new, definitely hit the subscribe button. It helps out a lot. Definitely hit the all bell notification, and we should be good.
Announcement. I just want to break it to you guys so that you guys all know what's going on, which is basically
You're quitting on us, bro.
I'm not quitting.
Shit.
I'm not quitting, but I'm going to tell you something that might blow your mind.
All right.
I think it froze up on you, bro.
Did I lag out?
Now can you guys hear me?
I can hear you.
Yeah, I think I think it froze on Gray Pill's side. I don't know, because he had to do that with my show. Gray Pill, you still there? He might have to let himself out and come back in. So, ladies, are you guys familiar with this story at all? Who Adam 22 is and what we're talking about?
I'm not familiar with him or his wife. I became familiar with this story as of yesterday, and I honestly don't think I have everything. I just see a lot of YouTube titles with him in it talking about his wife and him essentially allowing his wife to have let's say pornographic.
Yeah, we'll call it like the P world, right? Because
Okay,
the algorithm be tripping. So yeah, the P world. So
it's to have the P word with other people. And I don't right now, I don't know what the specific issue is because he's not the only married person in that industry. Definitely not the only one doing what he's doing or what they are doing. It does get worse than what they're doing. I'm gonna be honest with you. From what I know, but I don't know everything about this story and what the real issue is. Like, I don't know. Well, are people saying you're doing something wrong or what? Because if they already in that industry and they're still in that industry, I don't know what the problem is.
well, here's a quick breakdown of what it is. So Adam 22 obviously is a YouTuber. He's one of the really major YouTubers. Been in the game a long time. He came up in the rap game. And please, anybody who knows better, like Ashley, if you know better, please correct me as we go. But because I'm still fairly new to the space. But Adam 22 married a woman who's an adult film actress.
Okay.
And he and his girlfriend at the time, now wife, started a podcast where they would talk to women in the P world. And right after the interview, they would do a threesome, right? They would actually do content. And, the whole time, I was like, look, this is my girl. She's cool. You know what I mean? She knows what it is. I get to hang out and smash all these women. I get to smash her and she's beautiful and we love each other. And then they got pregnant and then they got married at some point, right? But she was saying, it's just, the girls and my man, it's not whatever. And people like, hey, would you be cool if she brought a dude into it? And he would say stuff like, well, if we got to that point, of course, we would talk about it and see if it makes sense, blah, 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 blah. Well, the day came, right? The day came. She wanted to do content with another man. And the guy she picked was this massive Terminator dude. Like, I don't even know if he's real. Like, this guy, like, they put him together like from other stuff. And she did this scene. And there was a big buildup, of course, just to make a lot of money. Now, when you see Adam talking about it, that energy doesn't seem to be there. Correct me if I'm wrong, Ashley. Am I kind of close there, Ashley, as to what's going on?
No, you surmised it pretty well, I think. Yeah, absolutely. And of course, just with it being the type of content that it is and the space that it is, a lot of specifically, not all, but a lot of specifically men take issue with that because there's a big stigma surrounding cuckolding, so.
Great Pill's back.
Yes, sir.
Welcome back.
Thank you very much. And yes, yes, and you summarized it up very well, sir. Thank you. All right, so
because it just happened. That's why I was like, wait, I know what's going on. We did this before.
It happens to me all the
that's
time.
a professionalism right there. Well, I'm getting a new
so
computer, so that it would never happen again after that. But go ahead, Dia, you have something to say?
Yeah, need those cash apps. Let's get that new computer in there. But the thing,
doubt.
the thing with this is this new world we're talking about, right? This shift in our society, the societal shift in what men are doing to get women and what they are forced to do, perhaps, to keep those women, right? So that's what we're looking at. Are there men out there who are cool sexually sharing their wife? Not some, not the side chick, not some random girl that they met, you know what I mean? That's a little bust down, but their wife or the woman who have like the mother of their children. Are they cool sexually sharing that woman? And for the vast majority of men, I'm making up numbers here, but for the percentage of men who are cool with that for real has to be in the low single digits. The average guy does not want anything to do with that. They just don't. And when you watch Adam 22, as this has been unfolding, you can see the hurt in his eyes, in my opinion. I'm like, this dude is
I feel like you're projecting now. We got to show the video. You're projecting.
I don't know, bro. Like this dude don't seem like, I don't know, bro. It seems like he cares about this, bro. He's trying to play it off like, no,
but I
cool.
mean, then you have to think hurt from what actually transpired or hurt from the flack that he's getting from his peers.
Oh, okay. That's a good point.
Yeah, fair enough. All right, play the video.
I just want to break it to you guys so that you guys all know what's going on, which is basically
You're quitting on it early enough.
after 7 years with my girl. This is not the breakup conversation. I really might have sounded like that right there for a second. Yeah. After 7 years together, doing porn pretty much the whole time, but we've gotten more and more deeper into the converse of the porn stuff. And after, many hundreds and hundreds of threesomes and stuff,
Yeah.
we decided, we've been having this conversation for like damn near a year.
Okay.
She shot her first ever scene with another man.
Oh,
over the weekend.
That shows growth.
So I'm going to use this as an example. Tell me how you really feel.
What about her? Listen, for the month, you don't want to hear what I'm talking about for the money, young Adam. If he told a lie, like you try to stay away from bullshit on the podcast. It's like, all right, how I really feel is that I need my girl to go out and shoot a motherfucking porno solo scene so she can bring that bag back home. This is a business, nigga. This is business.
To me, it was kind of like, the reality is that her career has been, helped by me for sure, but also held back by me to a certain extent because of the fact that we would only
realize that shit.
The number one thing that she gets asked, that she gets requested, whatever, is they want to see her shoot with another guy. And we've kind of had the conversation over the years, and I started to come to this realization that the reason why I didn't want her to do it was not because of just the fact that I didn't.
Is it just me? I can't hear anything.
Yeah, it's like it froze up again. Grey Pill, you still with us? Yeah, same thing might have just happened again. So I'm curious, lady. Oh, there you go. I think it froze up, bro. But I'm curious to hear from the ladies.
Can you hear me?
What percentage of dudes? Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, go ahead.
I'm curious. I'm curious, ladies. Like, what percentage of men you think are okay with, like, truly okay with and on board with sexually sharing their wife, the mother of their children, with other men? I'm just curious, ladies.
I think that the percentage of men out in the quote unquote real world is probably higher than what it is in the YouTube world, to be honest. A lot of people say one thing online and portray like this cultish mindset, especially when everybody gets together in the manosphere and, has all their, hoorahs with each other versus what they actually say and do and practice in the bedroom in real life, personally. But I would still say the percentage is not as high as the percentage of men that don't want to share their wives.
So would you say more men would be okay with it or less men would be okay with it?
Less overall, yeah.
Okay. Sister Rhea, what do you think?
Me? I think.
Yeah, Rhea.
I think men would probably be more apt to sharing. There is some men that would feel a little uneasy about it, I suppose. But from the beginning of the video, he stated that he's been in this industry for a long time and they've done this for a long time. So,
well, she's
I mean,
been in the
unless it,
business. She's been in the business for a long time. He has not. He's not the pro. He was just doing it with her and other women.
Oh,
Yeah, but this
so
wasn't
she,
Well,
recent. This
but
wasn't
he's still
recent.
in the business since then.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yes.
so he went into this relationship with her knowing this, and so he's obviously very accepting of it.
You know what you invited to the party.
Yeah, pretty much.
If you wanted a church wife, you should have married a church wife. That's all I'm saying.
And this is when I remember when I said earlier, I go, you can't decide to change your mind in the middle of it, and then because you feel maybe a little inadequate, or you know, you made that commitment to that person as that person is.
Yeah. Well, in his own statement afterwards, he said that, like, basically, he said that at first he kind of was a little bit jealous, but then he kind of took a step back and was like, "Wait, she's watched me sleep with, I don't know, dozens, hundred, I don't know how many women. She's watched me sleep with this extraordinary amount of women, you know, and been okay with it and been accepting of it. So I had to take that into account with my jealousy." I'm paraphrasing, but basically he was saying he had to take that into account with his feelings of jealousy and realize that, like, hey, it's a two-way street, bro, you know.
Right.
I don't know, fair enough, I think.
Well,
If you don't want that kind of stuff in your, I'm sorry.
No, you're good. So let me ask you this then. So with that being said, because
we still have one more opinion to get.
Oh, sure. Go ahead, Lola. Don't law stroke us.
I ain't letting you get out, sis.
Don't law stroke us.
Okay, pause. All right.
You're learning.
Okay, so I'll say this. I think this isn't a unique situation, and like Rhea and Ashley just pointed out, this is a circumstance where there's already inset things that were there before he got there, that he signed on, or that he signed on for. And although we don't hear about this often, it doesn't really change in terms of, like they say, when you meet someone, you sign on to their lifestyle. Either you want it or you don't, or either you're ready for it or you're not. And this is their lifestyle that they have, well, consented together. And then now they're just moving through that lifestyle. Now, granted, it's not my lifestyle, but I know there's certain couples that, you know, they swing. They didn't start out swinging, but now they full blown swing. And, you know, and some of them do, you know, the pony thing, and then it's private, and then they just go through that. And I mean, granted, again, it's not something we hear about all the time, but it is the same in terms of the vows of a marriage. You married that woman, she married you. Now y'all have to make it work. You married a P star, you became a P star, now y'all are P stars. This is what P stars do. So I'm not gonna say, well, you know, there's an issue, but I will say from the audience, it seems like people watching are having an issue with the fact that he's not moving traditionally as what they would think a male would do in terms of the male hormones, the jealousy, and then how, let's say, a religious man would do in terms of making sure that your wife is only with you. Meanwhile, like was said earlier, he admitted, I've done this thousands of times. It's like, okay, if that's the standard of their relationship, not their marriage, their relationship, then I don't see where anyone has a right to say, oh, wow, you let her do that. No, that is the culture of their relationship.
But Miss Oshun, it's a double standard.
Right. It's a double standard. Right.
Absolutely.
100%.
Absolutely.
And that's where it all comes down.
And I was curious too.
Hold on, Inky had her hand up.
I do have to say this. So if you look at it in a perspective as this is a business, it's a business to her, and she may not look at it in it. So people that are not in the adult business, I can say that. They're looking at it as business. They're not looking at it in a romantic way. It's kind of like, and excuse my narrative for this, but if you were to marry as a female, say your husband is a gynecologist, would that make you uncomfortable?
Right. Yeah.
Men, if your wife was a urologist or an endocrinologist that deals with male parts, would that make you uncomfortable? So if the people that are in the industry, in the adult industry, they are looking at it as a business, and from that perspective, not as an intimate, oh yeah, he's hot, let me keep him kind of type of situation. And that's just looking at from the other side, even though I am very still old fashioned.
Zero offense meant, but I don't think you can compare a gynecologist or urologist to a P star.
No, you can't.
They make about the same amount of money.
Maybe in that way.
But to her point, I wouldn't have a problem with my doctor handling male parts so long as she wasn't putting them inside of her. Like the moment if I find out she's putting them inside of her, then it's like, oh, we got a problem. But to look what you guys are saying, we didn't sign on for this, right? Like your doctor, I'm not expecting like what procedure
You don't
are you doing
marry a gynecologist expecting to make P videos,
right? Like what? Yeah, but that's the thing though. I would say that, and I'm curious too, Sister Raina and Sister Lola, do you think the majority of men are okay with that type of situation, or the minority of men are okay with that situation?
I think there is a minority of men, married men that is okay with it, because it's a sexual preference. And nobody's sexuality is above anybody else's sexuality, if you understand the definition of the word sexuality. Like, so there's a lot of things going on the underground between married couples that people don't talk about because it's not mainstream. And honestly, good. It's not for mainstream if that's the lifestyle you want to live. But more so than what you would imagine, there are married couples that are into that lifestyle because it's exciting to them. Honestly, that's at least what I've been hearing. I got a friend who does some things in that industry, and she says most of her business comes from married couples, not from single people. So, that's what that is. I'm not judging it. I'm not saying what it should be or shouldn't be, but that is what that is. I mean, I can't even put it that plain.
We're probably going to lose Sister Ray in a second, because I know she said she has to do some stuff. But do you think the minority or majority of men are on board with that, sis?
I think he's asking you, Inky.
Oh, wait, what was the question? Sorry, I'm having a little bit of lag. I was trying to type in back chat.
Oh, that's all good. Like I was wondering, do you think the majority of men are okay with this sort of lifestyle, like his wife, sharing his wife sexually with other men? You think the majority of men are okay with that, or the minority of men will be okay with that?
If they're already in a married situation,
just in general, like just making up numbers, like you think the average, like of all the guys out there, do you think the majority of those guys will be okay with that type of situation, or the minority of those guys will be okay with that situation? There's no wrong answer.
This is so hard, because I have seen that, not the P part of the lifestyle, but I have seen the other side, which was mentioned earlier, was in I don't know what word she used, but behind closed doors type of lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a very large group of people that do that. So I think as people do get older, they go out and explore that type of lifestyle to enhance their relationship with their partner. As a fresher, younger generation, I think men would be more awkward about it, in my opinion, if they're not like. So you would take the 50-50.
I guess you would say, maybe it's 50-50. Maybe, when they're older, it's this way. When they're younger, it's that way. But, maybe it's not as extreme. Because I would argue that, like I said, there's a very small percentage of men who will be okay with this. Just making up numbers.
In everyday life, yeah, I have to agree with you. There's a very small amount of men that would be like, oh, that's cool if you just go and do this.
Okay, cool.
I do agree.
That's fair enough. So, because it was, I can't remember the content right now, but and I'm asking because I heard the question, so I was like, let me ask it here. So do we feel like, even though we all agree, like, hey, the P star, you pretty much, you get what you dealt for, this is a relationship for them. So do we feel like, because he's a man, so, and he sees his woman getting plowed down by somebody else, so it's innate in him and in the man's nature to to like, cringe and feel certain differently, or like we're still on the same agreement? Like, okay, she's a P star. This is what I got into. We've been doing it for 7 years. Now she's doing it her own. Or do we feel like now the feelings might change a little bit only because the difference now is she's doing something on her own?
I feel like it's I feel like it's both. And also I want to just point out, no offense to anybody, but also women too, most of us anyways, feel a certain kind of way seeing our man touch another woman in a sexual, romantic, loving way. So it can go both ways, and we don't know the whole story. We don't know maybe what she's been. I literally just completely freeballing it here, but maybe she's been watching this happen, resenting some things, and waiting for her turn too. It's just another kind of aspect or point of view. But overall, I think most people that are in a committed, quote unquote, relationship don't typically enjoy seeing their partner be romantic or physical sexually with someone else.
Okay. Let Inky get our final words, and right on time. You could say you could say like a YouTube wifey. I'll say that, then everybody come at you. Because that's how the last drama happened when I called somebody that. No, it's long. I'll explain to you a long time ago. It's happened a year ago.
You don't care about it.
Yeah, I know you don't. But I appreciate you, Azaria, for coming on through last minute. But she was originally going to be the co-host, but a lot of scheduling and time and life, of course.
I'm unreliable.
Yeah, it's fine. But she's always going to get a link regardless when she has time to. So, Inky, do you have final words per the conversation?
Yes, I just wanted to say thank you very much for having me up here. And I will be in chat while I'm driving, because I'm driving about 45 minutes out to the Bay. And I will still be listening and still be supporting. And this is an amazing topic.
Oh.
Oh.
I just wanted to say, Inky, you're awesome. I'm so glad I met you.
Inky's cool. She dropped right out.
She's cool as shit. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it wasn't you. Are you good, Zaria?
Azria,
thank you.
I can't know where I am. Am I on the screen?
You're on the screen. You're on the bottom left.
Okay, because I don't see anything. Oh, that's what's happening. I'm playing two things, I think.
Okay. Are you streaming from your phone or laptop?
No, I'm on my laptop, and I don't usually. Oh, there you are. Okay, sorry about that, guys. I was wondering why it was so funny. Hi, I'm Azria the Amazon, and hi, everybody. I'm an open sex worker, so I wanted to come on for this because to say about it.
Okay, good stuff. So what's your thought? All right, you
Can you
lagging
see
up
me?
a bit. Yeah, you're like lagging up a bit.
Okay, hold on. How do I do this? Okay, I'm just going to talk because I don't know what's wrong. But so I just think this really boils down to people caring about a woman's uterus and just thinking she's only her uterus. And they don't care about the family dynamic, because if that were the case, all the porn that they've been doing together up until this point, where Adam was sharing his seed with threesomes, foursomes, fivesomes, nobody cared about that. But as soon as she went separate from him and decided to make money still, got married and became a mom, so they thought she was probably going to quit. But as soon as she kept working, then it became an issue, because she's
Explain the difference between uterus and vagina, though. When you said that, I found it interesting. You said uterus and not vagina.
Because I think that it also encompasses your procreation if you procreate, right? So It's not just the sex, it's also being willing to get married and to have a baby and to stay home with the baby, and all those things are attributed to wifey or female characteristics that I think it's the whole uterus. It's not just the vagina. And so, that's just my opinion. Yeah. I think it's all BS, the reason.
Fair enough.
Well, I just thought it was interesting. I'm sorry if I
no, go ahead.
I had this thought. I thought it was interesting that you said uterus and not vagina. And I want to clarify, the vagina and uterus are completely separate organs. But I thought it was interesting because one thing that a lot of men do have a problem with, at least that what I hear and what I see online and these, in this space, is that it is about, securing his seed, securing his line for the future. So I was wondering if maybe you said uterus rather than vagina for that reason, because that is a big argument with the whole pair bonding and the whole, you know, all that stuff.
That's
is
exactly
about it's okay for men to sleep around, but not for women, because if their woman sleeps around, how can they ensure that the offspring is really his, right? This goes back to ancient times. So I was just curious about that.
And this whole thing that women can't have sex without being attached to the man, and once he puts her, there's this thing that this guy told me once about how there's 3 bowls of milk, and if a man puts his seed in each bowl of milk, there's still separate bowls of milk. But if one woman has a bowl of milk and all the seeds go in there, everything's mixed up. That was his reasoning. But and the idea that a woman can't have sex with a man without being attached to them, you know.
And then the thought that it all stems back to a fucking study on prairie voles, literally like rats.
You only get one F-bomb. You only get one F-bomb.
Sorry. You should have warned me. You know.
That's fine. I do know. I was like, I'll let it get it off once.
You never warned me.
Let it come naturally.
How does it be smart?
I'll try to edit.
Yeah, YouTube. If we get demonetized, YouTube demonetized now. So I'm trying to work on a brand deal.
But so the whole study of pair bonding actually started from it originates from a study of prairie voles, which is a type of like field mouse / prairie dog, you know, that mate for life. And that's where legitimately I'm making a video on it right now, and it pisses me off. Pisses is fine, right? We can say piss.
They studied women for this study?
No, just rodent. It's fine.
Yeah, but they did. Okay, we'll get into that one. Ruby, thank you. She came a little bit late, so Ruby's is our normal co-host every Tuesday at 8 p.m. Central. So we got a consistent time slot. So every Tuesday, hopefully we can get one more, because I actually really want to talk about sex expectations with sex relationships. So hopefully we can work on that at the ending of the week. So Amazon.
I'm doing better now. I'll come through. I had some.
Okay. So Ruby, your thoughts? I don't know how much you heard or saw, but go ahead.
I literally I've only heard basically what I've heard. I've just got here, and I apologize for my tardiness. It won't happen again.
That's fine.
But I will say this, right? Because this is actually one of the areas that I study, right? Because a lot of the things that we're talking about right now are related to evolutionary psychology, which is kind of my area of psychology. And so I think a lot of people don't recognize that these areas of study, like when they talk about them like there was some type of conclusion that's like cause and effect, or like, hey, this tells you something really extreme about, say, human behavior or humans 10,000 years ago. And I don't think they understand that it doesn't mean exactly what they think it means. Right. And so like just the fact that we know that there's other parts of our anatomy, for example, the size of the male testes and how much sperm he produces, and the fact that that sperm produces something that kills off competing sperm and whatever, lets us know that women generally were not monogamous in the same way that men were also not monogamous for the majority of human history. And so like we know certain things, right? We do know that there's actually ways that back in evolutionary times that people would be able to tell if offspring was theirs or not, right? That's why, for example, an infant, when they're first born, looks very much like the father, like exceedingly so. There's also other types of cues, like the way that they smell literally and stuff like that. So I mean, there are some things that we evolved, right, to be able to tell. And so on one side, it's like, I understand the argument that people are making, but people are not realizing that a lot of this argument was built in a way and at a time where they were intentionally trying to control women, to suppress women's behavior, in essence, to solve the incel problem that was happening before, right? Where there were a lot of men who were not reproducing and could not reproduce, right? So if you kind of force a certain type of morality on all of society and on women specifically with really harsh penalties, then it allows you to an extent for more men to get a wife, get a woman, be able to reproduce, right? And it prevents women also, right, from being able to use people, right, use people for their resources, because like I don't really like you, and hey, this person with way better genetics, I'd rather sleep with that person, but you got more money, so I'm gonna sleep with this person and let your money raise my kid, right? And so there's a lot of reasons why, we could look at throughout history why it is that we focused on some aspects of evolutionary development and not looked at others at all altogether. I just don't think it's helpful if we're looking at a society that is actually being harmed, and I do believe it's being harmed by hoe culture. Hi, Ashley. I'm sorry. I still use the word hoe and whore very regularly, but nice to see you.
I was literally about to say earlier, you can't turn a hoe into a housewife, but I didn't know how everyone would feel about that with the whole pee talk. So I was I
wouldn't even want to be a housewife, so I get it.
I'm a total feminist, but I'm also
Welcome to the Grey Pill Podcast, Ashley. Welcome to the Grey Pill Podcast.
Yeah, I don't get offended by how people, it's your opinion is your opinion, it's all good. But when you say hoe culture, what do you mean? Like people pushing hoe culture? Or I think women don't know how to be a proper hoe is the problem, really. These women are not hoes.
Bruh.
Well, okay. What I mean by it, right, is the culture that we have now, and it's starting earlier and earlier, which is terrifying, right? But this culture, this idea that getting to know you involves sex, sexuality. So you have like kids on school buses that think that giving a blowy is like synonymous with a handshake, right? Or kissing 100 people in a club, synonymous with saying hi, right? And it's like this idea that in order for you to be like anything, for you to be part of like anything, for you to be enjoying anything, you have to have some type of sex and sexuality mixed up in it. Oftentimes before boys or girls really even understand themselves, understand sex, understand the pleasure, like, and so it's this culture that's being pushed at kids, really. It is being pushed at kids. Like, we can pretend all we want that like Cuties was like this abnormal movie, but Cuties was showing what's really happening, right? There's this culture being pushed at all of society, kids included, that is telling everybody that you are worth nothing unless you are sexed up. Okay, so how many partners you have, and I think that the backlash against it might be a little extreme sometimes, but it does come down to there is a lot of harm going on with this idea of just give away your body to as many people, worry about preventing yourself from getting pregnant, right? What about worry about protecting your health? No one's talking about that.
Ruby, I think I'm you, but step back like 6 steps. That's probably more me. I think some of your statements are a little extreme.
I know.
A blowjob being synonymous with a handshake. Come on.
Because it's about, why?
I get what you're trying to say.
Do you remember the sex bracelets? Do you remember that trend?
Oh, I remember that. Yeah, I remember that.
And I'm old and I know about that. I'm an old man and I know it. When I heard about that, I'm like, what? So she's on to something there. Like,
it's the equivalent of the it's not the serenity. It's the like that ring you get when you're a virgin.
Okay.
Yeah. There's another name for that, but
I believe that there's a certain type of personality or maybe lack of exposure or something that you go through that would want you to wear that or want to engage in certain things. And I can say that a lot of people that hypersexualize themselves have been hypersexualized from a very long time. And so that's where they see their approval coming from.
Yes.
Accepted. They synonymous with sex is love to them because that's what they were exposed to. Somebody who grows up a certain way and told certain things about themselves, they're not going to be showing their ass and doing whatever, right? My daughter, I'm a sex worker. She knows. She's 21. She's into coding. She doesn't even have an Instagram because I've instilled things in her like, if you're not just your uterus, do what makes you happy. You don't need a man's approval. You don't have to have a boyfriend. You don't have to get married. But if you want to and you like this person, fine. But you're not valued by a man accepting you, right? And I think that instilling that is what would make you decide to wear a bracelet or not.
Right.
You know what I mean?
I agree wholeheartedly that the promiscuity aspect, I agree wholeheartedly, like, especially the extreme version of it, like blowjobs on school buses. I think that goes hand in hand with being exposed to sex at a very early age, and I'll go as far to say probably by a family member or molestation, and it's so much more common than people think it is.
I mean, that's fine. I mean, I get you. I hear you.
But
that's fine.
I'm just saying, like, just on that tangent. So.
You hear that so much, but there are, I mean, we have young women here. There are young women who come from the quote unquote perfect home where no one is touching them. No one's playing hide the finger. No one's doing any of that, right? There are young women and young men out there who are just getting it in. Like, again, as the old dude, I'm in my 50s. It blew my mind back in the, what was it? It was in the early 2000s. I was living in Miami. And one of my coworkers was telling about a game that he overheard his daughter and her friends talking about. Now, the daughter wasn't doing this, but her friends were doing it, right? Where the young girls would paint, like they would put different color lipstick on their mouths, and the guys would pull, you know what I'm saying, they joystick out, and the girls would put their mouths on the dude's joystick, and it would just be different colors all the way up his shaft, and it was a game for all the cool kids. Look how many colors I got. Look how many colors I got.
Who were the cool kids in high school though? The ones
No, it wasn't the cool kids. It was every kid. It was every kid.
From my point of view, right? It was from my point of view, it was just the cool kids. But the fact remains, what's going on now in the streets with these young kids is something that wasn't even fathomed in the 70s, 80s, 90s.
What about catch a girl, get a girl? What about
kiss and catch? It was just a kiss when I was coming up. It was a kiss
we was
on the
catching
cheek.
The 60s and 70s were the sexual revolution, my guy.
For adults, not for children.
Right, not for children. Guys, again, I want to clarify what the sex bracelets are because people don't seem to know what they are. It is in the same time and era as the lipstick parties, right? And so what it is all the different bracelets mean something different. Hug, kiss, blowjob, sex, anal, whatever. Okay, they all have different colors. And so a girl, and these are those little plastic bracelets that look like you get them from Claire's or little cheap kitty stuff. Okay, but each one of those indicated what a girl is willing to do with basically anybody. Okay, and so if she's wearing the right color bracelets, right, and you ask her like, hey, I want some of whatever it is that you're willing to do, she'll give it to you. And that's what it was. Like, they're all wearing these bracelets, walking around at 11, 12. And I know because I caught my sister wearing it at 11, and I almost took her arm off.
Didn't wear certain colors or certain things to signify what they were willing to do or what they have done as hundreds of years ago either.
But
no, I'm saying that if in my time,
no, I'm just saying.
What I'm saying is that when I was 11, okay, and I'm 10 years older than my sister. When I was 11. When we were in the 5th, 6th grade, we were like being like, oh, did you French kiss somebody? Oh my God, that's a big deal. Right. And they were worried about whether or not you're wearing the purple and the blue and the this and the that and to give out indiscriminate sex favors, right, to the boys. Right, like they were prostituting themselves in a way for attention, for validation, for popularity, and they didn't realize that that's what they're doing. And the only person who's benefiting are the boys. The boys are all benefiting because any boy, once you sign into this, basically any boy can tap you on the shoulder, be like, "Yeah, let's go," and you'll do it.
Are the boys?
If you don't do it, then you're a fraud.
Ladies, it was a question. So somebody's asking, "What is a rainbow party?" If y'all want to elaborate on that.
It's a lipstick party. It's
a blowjob on the PPs with the different
colors of lipstick.
There's a lifetime special made about it. I'm pretty sure you could check out.
Okay, fair enough. Let me get to a question real quick because Be Easy was asking a lot. And shout out to Eda Man. He said, y'all off topic. Can you elaborate, Eda Man, what off topic were y'all off about? Maybe it's DL Saint because we kind of had a battle royale earlier. So maybe it's you talking about him. I don't know. I'm poking a bear. Be Easy says, so where is it? Be Easy says, so are we promoting polyandry or monogamy here? Yes and no. We can go around the table for that one. So are we promoting that? Because I think one of us said, I think it was Ashley said, she pretty much like, I don't care either way.
I am not promoting or demoting it. I'm saying that if it works for you, your partner, your family, your relationship, and everything's healthy and there's no abuse, do what works for you, baby. That's what I'm saying.
I think that's what across the board we were saying earlier. Yeah. Assuming you agree, disagree? Because I think that's what we all agree on. If it's worked for you, you're good with it.
Well, like I said before, it's not just about if it works for you. A lot of the reason why we get married is cultural. There's cultures where men get married to multiple women. There's cultures where women get married to multiple men, and some of those men are brothers. Like that's just normal that they all are related and they all are married to one woman. And most of the time, the children don't even know who their actual biological father is. They call all the men father. Like
Hmm.
there's a lot of different types of marriages out here, but the fact that a lot of us feel that whatever marriage we're in is the standard for everyone else, this is the problem right here. Because you're more worried about what someone else is doing behind closed doors at this point than you are in your own relationship and marriage. It's like, how is what those two individuals are doing affecting you? Like how? And I think every last one of us has to answer that question, because a lot of people got opinions, but the fact that you feel the need to give an opinion on what that married couple is doing in their marriage, okay? Because last I heard, their marriage bed was sanctified, whatever. But it's like, why are we worried about what they're doing? Like, they're married, they can do whatever they want to do. They're married. Now, if people feel like she should be with him, let me ask you, are they Christian? What's their religious background? What standard are you on that you feel they should be following too? This is the hypocrisy that I see in a lot of people. Don't get me wrong, I might have my opinion on STDs, on, just the biology of things, just like, how things work as far as, like, regular stuff. But at the end of the day, relationships are not just based on, are they monogamous? Are they male? Are they female? Relationships are very much more nuanced than that. So it's like, if somebody wants to say that this couple isn't a couple, they're not in a good marriage because they're doing something that someone else may not be accustomed to or comfortable with. Listen, get your pee out your egg.
All right. With that said, next question. So it was asked, what harsh penalties have women faced? So I guess there was something between the three ladies was conversating earlier. So I don't know what, if you want to elaborate on that, I don't know exactly what he meant. Shout out to Dangerously Active, said Grey Pill got the hot chicks with the brains on the panel. Yes. I work very hard for my channel. I work very hard for my subscribers. Thank you. Thank you.
Hot brains, not just brains. We got to be hot.
Yeah.
I mean, but hey, at the end of the day,
always hypersexual.
Ruby, are you not more attracted to a good-looking man who's smart? Take a compliment.
but to the point though, it just shows how this sexual dynamic works. Everyone, there's, a lot of people get mad at the guys in the manosphere, the manoswamp, what you want to call it, when they talk about this. What's gonna, it's the chitlin circle, whatever you want to call it. People are going to judge the book by the cover, especially when it comes to dating dynamics. Dudes are going to go out and want to smash the hottest chick. They're going to want to say whatever they're going to say. Oh, you got these women with brains and they're hot, whatever, because that means something to dudes. Maybe it doesn't mean as much to women. I don't know. I'm not a woman. You know what I mean? But it does mean something to dudes, right? You can look throughout YouTube, go on YouTube. Who has the biggest followings and what is on that platform? You know,
see, that's why I think the problem. Hold on. But I think that's what the problem is. What all the ladies, and I will add myself in it, because people like that is speaking in absolutes, and for me, that triggers me because it's not everybody. Now, if they want to do the whole data statistic thing to their ears fall off, that's great. But guess what happened? It's going to become negated in another sense, because you're going to have people going to say, "Hey, here's another large group or majority of people have these relationships that's polar opposite to what you're doing." Like, and at the same time, those type of people, like Amazon saying here's like, I'm good. Love me, hate me, dream about me, but guess what I'm doing? I'm asleep good at night. I'm not worried about you. If you're worried about me, cool. But I'm not worried about me. So I think that's where that huge, they're not really divide. It's so many spaces out there, but those people on that end is not trying to recognize, like, again, Adam 22. He chose a P worker. They have, from what I see, a great relationship. He always talk about her in the sense of, this is my person. This is my mate. Somehow along the lines, they start to say, hey, let's get married. Now, the conversation, what I was seeing, go ahead. The conversation I was seeing was, people was like, well, if they kept doing this the whole time, why get married? That was a huge question. Why get married?
Well, there was definitely something I want to insert there, if I could, about
Sure.
Adam 22, right? And again, when I'm talking about this, guys, when I talk about Red Pill, like, I don't know if you guys saw our other stream a couple hours ago. When I use the term red pill, I'm using it from the movie Matrix. Are you truly unplugged and you're seeing the code, you see what's going on, and do you accept it? That's all I'm talking about. Do you want to surround yourself with comfort and lies? If you do, that's fine. If you want to look at what the situation is on the ground, then you can do that as well. And I consider that being unplugged. Now to Adam, he's dating this woman. She's a P-star. He's like infatuated with his woman. He's getting all the milk. He ain't bought the cow yet, right? They're having a great time. He's getting all this sexual access from all these other women. Man, he's sitting there like, I'm the man. Everybody think I'm the man, right? They get pregnant, they have a baby, and then he gets married. Once they get married, now this could be a coincidence. I don't know. I'm not in their bedroom. Like I said, I'm not in their house. But they get married, she's ready to work with other men. She hasn't been doing that until that point, right? So there's a lot of people going to point that out. I point that out, and I look at it like, if I see her, I'm like, high five. What's up, baby?
Talked about that.
That could be a compromise between them two. If
we talked about it in particular is that she's planning on, they're both really planning on, and planning on her getting out of it altogether, really settling down, quote unquote, right? Having more children, blah, 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 blah. That's their plan. And so right now her career is in a really great place. And, it's a perfect opportunity to take advantage of the fact that people have been waiting to see her be with any other actor or whatever, right? And so let's take advantage of that where we can make the most benefit, get the most money, right? Get the most profit, and ride that while, your career's at this place, so that way you can store up all of that funding for this preparation that we're doing in the next couple of years, where you're gonna come out of
perhaps,
right.
But
and so this is the discussion that him and his wife had. Like, if him and his wife,
how her desire to sleep with a black man for a long time, and how that was him and his wife fetish for her.
Who said that?
Ruby.
No, she was
Adam. I guess no. Adam. I think she meant that Adam and his wife. I forget her name.
Oh no, I'm sorry. I'm talking about Adam's wife.
I think Adam and Lana said that they wanted to do that. And my point is this: we're talking about people. We're talking about folks.
The porn.
Yeah, well, we're talking about
because
folks
that's not the same thing.
Right. Well, we're talking about folks who are over there. So all I'm saying is this: if I'm her in the situation, I'm going to run that game the way she ran it. I'm going to give him everything he wants, right? Presumably, I think she's a millionaire. I think he's a millionaire. They're both powerful in that, right? And if I'm looking at a future, like I want to have a child, this guy's into me, I'm going to give him everything he wants. And I'm going to say exactly what he wants to hear to get my end goal, which maybe I'm going to need somebody to be there that's going to, have children with me and be able to take it to the end along those lines. So yeah, I want to do this. I want to do that. We get married. We have the baby. We get married. Bam. I'm out here over here with, mega Superman over here getting what I want to do. And Adam was like, yeah, this is cool. This is what I wanted to do. I would play it exactly the way she played it. I'm not saying she's wrong, right? And I'm not saying he's wrong. It's just the way I look at it, there's always some game in there. And I would argue again, the vast majority of men, just making up numbers here, I would say it's a single-digit percentage of men are okay watching their woman, the wife of their children, the mother of their children, their wife, being intimate with another man. And then add on top of that, the whole world is watching too. So
wait. Why do we do this? Why do we compare, take these situations that have nothing to do with average people and then say, come on, this is why Adam's a cuck. This is why. No, they're both sex workers. Okay. They're both in this industry. And so the arrangements that they're going to make amongst themselves as husband and wife within their relationship, and also on a business level, is entirely different than what most marriages are ever going to discuss or face, because most marriages are not between two sex workers, right? And so it's absolutely ridiculous for us to take our non-sex worker ideals, right, and what a relationship should be and what marriage should be like and whatever, and then superimpose them on these two people who I think have been very admirable in the fact that they're willing to speak very openly and explain what's going on, what's the what, right? Like, I don't think anyone's stopping and pausing for a second to say two sex workers. These are two people who are in this industry. Okay. And they got married knowing these are two people within this industry, two people. These are the potential places that their careers could go. They're both okay with that. And they both decided to make this decision. And then every step along the way, she gave him ample, countless opportunities back out if you don't want this, because my marriage comes before anything else, even before my career and profiting, who cares, right? And he didn't want to back out because this is a career move that he wanted for her just as much as she wanted her career to be more profitable. Like, it's ridiculous for us to take our like, would I do this? No. But guess what? I'm also not a sex worker. Neither is my husband. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, it doesn't
Hold on 1 second. I
mesh.
just want to address this because I really don't, because I have a rule here. I don't really try to engage too much with the chat. I let the panel do the panel. I'm not going to make this a black and white thing, so let's not even go there. I'm just going to be real with you. I'm not going to make this a black and white thing. So I think all across the board, all of us agree that Adam 22 and his current wife is making a power play off of it. So
I apologize. I brought it there first, and it's
no, you're fine because
something that's been talked about.
Yeah, you're right. It had you're right. It has been talked about, but it started slowly getting into the chat. So you're fine.
I
do
apologize. But it is legitimate.
Yeah, it is. And it's part of it too. It's part of it too.
But,
no, we're
an
good.
Invalid statement anyway, because like, okay, so one of my friends is a sex worker. And the issue, she's white and she exclusively really dates white men predominantly, right? And when they find out, and she's not even like in something that millions of people would see, right? Like, she's an escort in essence, right? And she's a gorgeous woman, really wonderful person too, and whatever, right? But for all these people who are like, oh, it's a white male fetish and whatever. Guess what? It's not. It's, first of all, it's not just a white male. It's a fetish that any man of any race can take part in. But it's not like white men are just so much more likely to be like, okay, this is cool. Like, no, it's very difficult unless you're dating someone in the industry to find somebody who's okay with you being in the industry, who would marry you, right? And this is a problem my friend has had time and time again, where she'll even get to the stage of, and she shouldn't hide it, and I've told her this, but she's hidden what she does for a living before, and has even gotten engaged and then said, this is what I did, or this is what I do, even the idea of, okay, she'll stop going forward is not enough, right? They're like, no, sorry, can't do it. She dates a lot of people though who are pretty conservative, say, right? Like, they're police officers, they're lawyers, or this, they're that, and they have really conservative kind of viewpoints on what a relationship should be, what marriage should be, what a good woman is, so on and so forth, right? And as soon as you put in sex worker there, they're like, oh, no way, right? So I think it's just ridiculous to bring race in there and be like, oh, these white men like to get cucked and whatever. It's like, dude, this is not even a cuck situation, because Adam wasn't there observing, and he wasn't sitting there, oh, he's getting off on it, sitting in the corner and da 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 da. That's not what happened.
Like Sneeko.
Careers.
Like
Sneeko.
But here's the thing, not yet.
Later on replay, is that cucking?
No, but the thing is this, not yet, because that's going to be money, right? If they're doing this for money, and everyone wants to see that, right? You absolutely have to do that, right? If you're looking at it from a business perspective, if I'm their manager, I'm like, bro, we're gonna have to do a video with you in the corner, right? While she's getting railed out by 3 other dudes, right? We got to do that because that's gonna be such big money, right? So not yet, but again, it's there. Grown ups, they can do what they want to do.
I don't think it got to go that DL. I think what we said earlier is pretty much just what it is now. Like, they thought about a year, whether she had a fetish or not, that's great, cool. But the fact they knew that people was gonna react to it. Let's get a black guy, get him in there. Okay, cool. You're going to do you. All right, with this one guy, let's make it a race. Okay, now let's make a whole big thing. Now the fact is done. I will bet you money that the time she was producing it, he was already ready for the conversation on his show. Not wait a week or two after, because if it's a week or two after, you already know it blew up. He wouldn't have time to prepare for it. That was it. It was 1, 2, have the conversation. Everybody was going viral screaming. Now he's got that whole posse together.
Dumb.
Exactly. Now they got the whole posse together. You got a retired pimp, mind you, going to bat for him. Another guy on the other end of the young generation going to bat for him. Another homeboy, another space going to bat for him. Oh, they good now. So now everybody's still picking at everybody.
Miss O'Shun, what do you think?
I think that there's a neon pink elephant in the room and nobody wants to say it. These two individuals are not the first couple to face the issue of black male parts as an issue in their relationship as they are involved in this industry. They're not the first couple to face that. I know several couples where on social media where they were saying there's a guy, him and her, they do whatever they do, but his rule is no black men. Okay. And that is on both sides of the aisle. Okay. When it comes to the races of the women, I've seen Asian women being told no black men. I've seen white women being told no black men. I've seen black women being told no black men. Like, so there is an issue with that already in that industry. And the fact that this is just one more person or one more couple that is going through the same thing. It's like, okay, let's stop talking about the fact that they're willing to share. That's their business. They want to do it. Some women that aren't out there like to share their man too. Okay, but people don't want to openly say that. Let's talk about the real issue here. Everybody's wondering, well, can he fit in her after this dude? That's what they really wondering.
Well, part of his original statement actually said, "Oh, and don't worry, her vagina did go back to normal after that."
And that's what I'm saying. That's all they're really worried about right now, because they're imagining what's going on sexually in their mind, and they're trying to say, well, how can you like it? Okay, after that. And what he's saying is, whether it's good or not, that's my girl. I like her, because he's separating that act from their relationship and their marriage. And most people watching can't do that. So my thing is, let's not talk about the fact that they're doing things in their marriage that other people are not willing to do or can't do or find, to be repulsive. Let's talk about, well, what would you be with your girl if her vagina was a little loose? How about that? Let's talk about that, because that's all you really want to know about from this man. Because if this other guy that she had a preference with was a white male, we wouldn't be here. So let's really talk about it, since you want to talk about it.
I mean, if it was Tommy Lee, we'd be talking about it.
Yeah,
that dude got a telephone pole.
Oh, that's what I'm saying. If you and that's really what it is. It's about the size of the penis, because really, it's really just penis wars. That's all it is.
Okay, well, since you brought that up, so is it, ladies across the board, of course, not me and DL, does size matter?
Yes.
I actually jumped on that quick. Does size matter, Ruby? Because you got your mouth open. I don't know.
You just should not have put those things together at the same time.
Inherently, it does.
Here's the thing. In my opinion, I do think it's actually the motion of the ocean that matters most. And knowing what to do with whatever size, shape, width you've been given. I think a lot of people think when they say size matters, we're talking about length. And I don't. And that's based on all the research. Really, we're talking more about width. The width does matter.
Girth,
and
baby,
girth, right? The girth can make a big difference
for the earth.
The reality is that it's really only the first 3 inches of the vagina that have the most nerve endings. So after 3 inches and a decent amount of girth, you can do something with that, right?
I wish Inky was here. Man, Inky had a whole conversation about this, and I think she said 5 inches or longer. And I said, really? Because I thought the norm was 4 inches or 3.
No. It's 5 inches is average.
Most vaginas are about 8 to 10 centimeters in length when not aroused. Now then, when a woman becomes aroused, her vagina does lengthen. That is true.
And angles matter too, because it was like a curve or something. Yeah, it was a whole conversation, but it was like a curve, angles.
We measured in centimeters. So
if the guy was smaller, if he had girth, and the woman had a different angle, if she was on a time in a month, like a lot of this stuff. It was a lot of conversation. But yeah.
It makes a big difference, right? I mean, how close your cervix, in essence, would be to the outside, and therefore whether or not someone could hit it, which has a lot to do actually with arousal, just period.
Sometimes it causes pleasure or pain.
Right. And for people like myself, I don't like my cervix to be, it's very painful.
I love it.
I think we'll see, and some people do, right? But here's the thing. When we're talking about size, whether or not size matters, okay? The big important thing to keep in mind is that size doesn't matter for some women. Some women like it thicker or longer or whatever because they've been stretched out. That's not how it is at all, okay? The Kegels do wonders, but generally, okay, the vagina goes back to its regular shape when you're done using it. That's how it is, okay? And I hate this conversation that we keep having about women's insides as though somehow or another, she slept with this one guy who has a big side. Well, that's it. Now she's ruined. Because
walking around with a vagina the side of a baby's head, then obviously it goes back.
Right.
But I mean, I will say after childbirth, though, a vagina can quote unquote loosen. But I want to.
But that's because of the muscles weakening. So if you just strengthen the muscles again, it goes right back to normal.
Ruby. But Ruby, what I wanted to say was I wanted to go back to what you said about Kegels. So Kegels is what? An exercise. What do we exercise? Well, we exercise a lot, but we're talking about a muscle here. The more you use a muscle, does it not get what? More toned, more tightened, more everything? I mean, basically, seriously. My vagina's tighter now than it was when I was 20. Seriously, because I learned how to exercise it and use it.
Right.
So
your pelvic floor is important, man. And
that's not what the spaces in your end of the fence and my end is fence say. They say
no,
hey, the older you get, the more ruin it is. If you have a baby, you get more ruin.
I'm not kidding. Like, I enjoy sex so much more now than I did 17 years ago. I'm 37. When I was 20.
But you know,
that's most women. But women tend to enjoy sex more in their 30s, right?
So I'm speaking specifically because of vaginal tone in this scenario.
But here's the thing: those same dudes that say those corny things about it getting, blowing your back out. Because I say it in jest. It's hilarious, right? They say all these things, and they say, "Oh, she's a 304. She ain't no good." All this other kind of stuff. Them same dudes. If the woman is like a sex worker, say she's a OF girl, or if she's a dancer, or she's a whatever, them same dudes are sending money to that woman. That very same woman they talking crazy about. So when you talk about the space, you talk about the manosphere, right? And I'm part of that world. I'm in the manosphere, and that's the one thing I'm talking to these dudes about.
Me too.
Like, bro, you talking all this nonsense, bro. You talking all this trash. Yet I'm looking at her phone. You just sent her $3,000, my dude. You know what I mean? What are you doing here? You see what I'm saying? It's these, so that's why I don't put a lot of weight on all that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? Oh, it's gonna be stretched, this and that. Back to Adam 22. We're gonna see how this plays out, but I don't think that he's in that small percentage of dudes, that small percentile of dudes who are okay sharing his wife sexually with other men, irregardless of what the other man's race is. I don't think he's cool with that, and we're gonna see.
I don't think it's a race. He said it though. I say it's 50-50 that within the next couple years they'll be divorced.
No, I don't think they're going to be divorced. Here's the thing. He didn't think he'd have a problem. That's why he made this plan. And then he determined that, you know what? It bothered him more than he would have thought. But here's the thing to take note is that if he is also a sex worker, right, and in the same industry, then you understand that there is a huge difference between you performing on the camera and you actually enjoying an intimate moment with someone else. And I'm not sure, like, we always have this discussion, like somehow they're all equivalent. Like, all these women who are performing and doing all these performances in these videos, that's them actually enjoying this situation and not going through arduous hours and hours of posing in all these uncomfortable positions that don't feel good and taking breaks to ice themselves down and stuff because everything's swollen and it hurts and and the fluffers and whatever. Like, people are acting like it's not, like it's all fun and just getting turned on and whatever. Like, no, it's a job. Right. And so they're doing this job for all the money shots and all the right things and whatever, not for pleasure between two people.
That's why why you specifically only search homemade amateur pee on.
Yeah, but then if you actually found any of that for real, it's really boring because it's just two people going
I love that
for like 20 minutes and then they're done. Like, there's nothing.
That's not just guys going a one-off on themselves.
That doesn't benefit the porn industry.
That's what I'm all about.
Educated on it, right?
Yeah,
men, right? So they obviously want to think that she's really enjoying it, especially when the dude is like, he's all right looking, So it's like it gives people the idea that that could be me, and she's a whore and she loves it, and she's just getting paid, but she actually loves doing it because it benefits the industry. But
but it's not valid at all. I mean, it's ridiculous. You know what? And here's the thing, because I kind of understand. So she's never done, anything with another man until this. Fine. I knew someone who literally, this was way back in the day though. Okay. They had a website. This was way before like YouTube and whatever. It's called iDeepThroat. And when I first met her, I never would have guessed she was in this industry. Okay. She just looked like a nerdy mom. Like, that was it. But what she would do is, she dated like her baby's dad and then her current boyfriend, right? Both were well-endowed men. And so she did this whole entire thing where she was basically just deep throating the same guy, but you know, you change up the pants and whatever, and somehow it seems like a new person. And so it was this whole entire thing of them being like, oh, she's so slutty, she's so this, she's so that. No, it was just her man, right? She was getting millions and millions of dollars, getting financially secure, blowing her man.
I'd recognize it. Dude.
Yeah, but you're a woman. Women
woman.
stare at that.
Exactly.
Yeah, men ain't going there. Women,
Yeah,
men is
you're a
not going
woman.
there.
Right.
We're all
Just-
about the reaction and the action and the moans and whatever
true.
that women do.
My
Yeah.
ex tried to send me his
Oh, you
dick
know
on
Heather?
OnlyFans, and I knew what it was.
Yeah,
I was
but
like, I know
the,
that dick.
But yeah, I knew her in real life. I've been to her house and everything. Yeah,
Well-
like back in the days. I can't believe someone actually knew who I was talking about. But yeah,
with respect to marriage standards, right? Like you were talking about, like this thing where Adam 220 was going to tie it into, you know, marriage standards, right? It's really hard to deny, and a lot of people don't like this. You know, men and women want the best. A lot of people in the red pill mental space, they're like, you know, hypergamy and this and that. I believe in that, but you know, they say women, they only want the best out of that. I only want the best. You feel me? I'm not, when I go out and I'm going to invest in a nice vehicle, I'm not going to get me some trashies. I'm going to get the best I can get, right? People want the best. So the problem is this, like women are doing their things, living their life, boss babe, having fun, you know, don't hold me accountable. It's all good. The problem is men care about women's past. They care about that. Now, I'm not saying that, but I'm not saying that women are angels and men are angels. It is what it is. You know, if would I commit myself, would I ask a P star to marry me? Would I ask a woman who used to do OF to marry me? No. Would I ask today, like an Instagram, you know, model, whatever? Would I ask her to marry me? No, I'm not going to do that. Would I play with her, have some fun with her? Absolutely. You know what I mean? Are there men out there who would do it? Yeah, look at Adam 22. There are the average dude, like the bottom 80 guys. They would take any of these women in a heartbeat, right? But the men that women seem to want, those guys may not take them. You know what I mean? They may not. Those guys care. You know what I mean? I tell people all the time, like plausible deniability only works when there's no proof. I don't care. Like, look, sis, if you out there doing your thing,
so they have to throw it in your face and say, "Hey, DL, look, see,
they gotta throw it in my
told you."
face. They don't have to throw it in my face. But if people in my inner circle, like I said, I got very few friends, but I got a lot of associates, right? You know, if my associates come to me and they're like, "Yo, man, look at this. I seen this video of Shorty." Like that video carries a lot of weight. All right, I'm never gonna marry her. Am I gonna kick her out of the room? I'm like, no, she's cool, she's fine. We're gonna have some fun. But I'm never going to marry her.
I get what I'll let you go, Amazon. But I hear what you're saying. But again, I think it comes down to the foundation grounds of the conversation. And I'll use me and Amazon, for example, right? Me and her had plenty of conversations, but she don't care to me. And this is for me. I know, but if she doesn't carry herself like that, like she's just a regular person to me, right? You know what I'm saying? But I know. So it's like, then when we move forward in that conversation, it's like, okay, I still have to have the understanding. This is what it is. This is what I get into. Am I okay with that? But I already knew, but she didn't carry herself like how the stereotypical P stars and the Instagram thoughts do, like ratchet and whatever. She doesn't carry herself like that. They care. A lot of women. It was another one, I can't remember her name. Jesus Christ. But she was like, they call her deep throat queen. But she seemed like the rock band type chick, the gamer chick. But on film, she's acting like what everybody wants her to be on film.
Right.
I think it's a difference, especially how you carry yourself in person. Now, I get it. If your homeboys show you something like that, cool, great. But guess what? Mentally, for me, aka Adam 22, I already knew this. Like, and what else?
That's fine.
Can I just say something?
Sure.
I think that we're speaking in absolute terms, and I think that if you look at society, you realize that some men care, some men don't. You have these young ball players that are totally wifing up Instagram models and getting them pregnant, right? Mm-hmm. You have men. Not every man wants me. I could go shove it in some guy's face. He'd be like, "No, I don't like you," or "I like to have sex with someone I love," or whatever. And he could be considered not as good looking or whatever. The red pill community, to me, it's weird because they're usually old. Like for Fresh and Fit, for example, 39-year-old man. He has women in the 20s on the panel that do OnlyFans, that looking for exposure, that don't have life experience, that didn't go to school and get a degree, that didn't study psychology or men. Those are who they have because it's a power imbalance, as far as I'm concerned. Mm-hmm. And then he berates them and disrespects them, right? If you're talking about those girls, yeah, they want a guy with a car or whatever because they don't have experience. They don't understand that's not your car. He's still disrespecting you. He's not going to pay for you to get your education. He's not going to pay your debt. He's not going to pay for your time. Right. And those are the women that you're talking about. But any grown woman that knows her shit, they don't want those women.
But to my point, if the grown woman you're talking about who knows her stuff, right? If that grown woman, let's say that she's middle management, she's working with Procter and Gamble or something like that. She's making 6 figures, right? Let's say she still has her beauty, and I'm talking to her, and I find out that, you know what I mean? Yo, little shorty was out here banging this, that, and the third, blah, blah, blah. But there's no proof. So it's like, man, whatever, you just talking, bro. I don't know you. But if one of my homeboys came to me, someone in my family is like, yo, I smashed her. Right. And I know it's a silly thing, but as a guy who has options, I'm gonna be like, oh, I ain't gonna rock with her because she smashed somebody in my crew. I know it's a silly thing. I know it, but for some, right, but I mean, some people look at it like that's so silly, but there are men who would do that. There are some other men who would overlook that. But I would argue the majority of men, I'm talking about the top tier guys, I'm not talking about the bottom 80 dudes. The majority of men who have options, right? If your woman is promiscuous and it can be proven, he's not going to rock with her because that's embarrassing to that dude, and he doesn't want to be embarrassed.
I get what you're saying, but what most people have experienced is men lie on their penis, especially when it comes to higher value men in their circle. I don't know what it is, but men do that to each other and as some sort of show of whatever. And that's how some men, especially when they want to get with a woman, they will kind of, as they say, cock block. And they'll say, oh, well, she's a this, she's a that. Oh, I did that. I did that with her. And then meanwhile, they haven't done anything. They don't know anything about her. And then they'll step to her. That has happened to me countless times. That has happened to too many women that I know countless times with men that were of plenty means within their circles. And so my thing is, women are at the short end of the stick, even when it comes to circumstances they are not even involved in. So when you say, well, if a man finds out that another man said that he put his pee in her vagina, that's just another avenue that another man can block and take what you got. All he got to do is say, oh, I had that. And then next thing you know, oh, he's trying to slide in her DMs. Next thing you know, they, work husband and wife, stuff like that. It's like, this is a whole game right here. And my thing is this, I get it. From an evolutionary standpoint, as a man, you don't want competition with what you are inside of, okay? You want that to be clean. You want it to be something you have access to without worry, right? I get that. But in today's time, right, things are changing. People are changing. Like, there's a lot of things. Psychology is changing. The way we view things is changing. So I'm not saying that people should not be traditional in their views. What I am saying is be realistic in your view. What you just said, I can think of 100 ways to get around what you just said. And I'm sure an actual man has done that, probably to someone you know. I'm not a man. I would never do that. That makes no sense. Like, for me to tell another woman I did something with your man and I didn't do it, there's too many problems with that. But for men, it's not the same. So, I just think that men need to be a bit more realistic within their own circle about this whole 304 culture and the fact that they say women are perpetuating it with their actions, but men also are paying for it. Men are also facilitating it. Men are also pushing it with everything they do and don't do. I mean, there's a floor for that. So it's like, if you don't want 304 culture, don't give it a place to grow. But of course, men need that, because the non-select men need that. And the men who are select, they need that until they get ready to settle down. So my thing is, I hate when men complain about 304s. It's like, you want one, if not only temporarily. So stop complaining. Just use them as you see them. Just make sure you're paying your way and leave the conversation alone. Like, let's just be honest.
All right, Ashley had her hand up, and then Amazon.
Oh, this has just been kind of bothering me. Something Ruby brought up earlier, and it was about the rainbow parties and the bracelet parties. And the reason it was bothering me is because I know that I've watched documentaries about this, and I know that I've read articles about this. And I was like, I know that this is a fucking urban. Oh, my bad. I know that this is an urban legend. It's me. You knew who you invited to the party. Just saying. I know that this isn't true. And so this entire time we've been talking, Ruby, I've got like 17 browsers open, all pointing me to exactly what I was saying, that this started with a book that was written by someone that Oprah Winfrey knew. And when you go back and you actually do the research and you find that every single young girl that she asked about these rainbow or bracelet parties, none of them could confirm whether or not it actually happened to them or they witnessed it, rather than it was a rumor. So what they call this is hold on, it's my turn. They call this a phenomenon. Basically, it's like this cultural, like a way to scare everybody. Like we're just trying to scare everyone.
Well, it
right?
didn't work then, did it? Because we're talking about
Well,
2004
the whole point, though,
until
Ruby,
now, and what happened to culture. Did anyone get scared?
So my point is that this is, you're sitting here claiming to like have firsthand knowledge of these things. And I feel
Literally,
like half the stuff that comes out of your mouth is BS. And I just proved it.
I know,
and
you always have, Ashley.
I could tell. I knew that what you were saying, you were like, oh no, my sister or my niece, this really happened to them. And I'm like, oh really?
Yeah.
Okay. Like
literally, yes.
But
you always think everything I'm saying is bullshit. As soon as you disagree with something I say, Ashley, you
I disagreed with a lot of things you said, but I knew that.
And
that
then
was
you
one
always
thing
end up
for
telling me
certain.
it's bullshit.
I knew that that was.
I'm sure there's some. Can I just say something?
I knew that was
thing for.
Anyway, I just knew that was one thing for certain that I could prove that what you were saying was not factually accurate.
Hold on.
And I just don't like that.
Hold on.
Factual, honey. I'm sorry that you didn't ever experience it, but unfortunately for me, it was happening in my
source. Trust me, girl.
Generation, and I was right there for it. In fact, I had to pick one of them up from one of these parties because they didn't understand what they were getting themselves into with these bracelets and with this colored lipstick. Okay. So what I'm saying is, as much as you can say all you want that you think it's bullshit, I don't really care whether or not you think it's bullshit.
Do you know where it originated? Do you know any of the facts about it?
But I can tell you 100% for sure that 10 years later, they were 100% for sure doing it. And that, I don't. Don't care what you think.
Amazon Go, but I'm very proud of myself. I haven't used that in a long time, so thank you. Amazon, but I will say this. Yeah, I had you back and forth. We're moving and turn the page. So go ahead, Amazon.
Yeah, so I was just going to say that no one can say that you didn't have an experience. So you say you did, I believe you. But what I want to say is that doesn't mean that everyone who wore a bracelet back then was engaging and it was some huge sex thing that was going on in the school. People want to be cool. They'll buy a bracelet, they'll put it on because their friend's wearing it or whatever. So if that was happening, I promise you that there wasn't a group of girls that are 14, like the whole everybody in 2004 was just taking anal. These guys, they're not doing it. They're just talking.
No, they just weren't wearing the anal colored bracelet. They were using the one that said hugs, for example, handshake. Like there was a lot of different bracelets. So they either weren't participating in wearing the bracelets or they were wearing the innocent bracelets, right? So
do you remember those bracelets? Because I remember those bracelets.
These all say that I'm a whore.
That was beyond me. I never saw any of the. I never read any articles because I wasn't looking for them. I never saw the Oprah stuff. I didn't care. But I will say this: the story that I shared, that was a coworker telling me about his 14-year-old daughter and her.
It's all hearsay. So, I'm just
no. I mean, I'm just letting you
know.
No,
it's fine. We're moving. We'll come back to. Yeah, we're good.
No,
we're good.
Okay. I'm don't really
exist, Ashley.
Yeah, we're just gonna leave it there. You know what I mean?
I know that I'm factually correct. So
of course.
And that's fine. We agree. You are factually correct. But I'm just it's like Sister Amazon said. You know, like if you say that's what happened, that's what happened. I can tell you tons of stories, and I guarantee you won't believe 85% of them. But you know what? It happened. You know what I mean? Like it just what it is.
What does that have to do with people engaging in these acts? So there's a rainbow party, there's bracelets. Why are these kids doing it? Why is that influencing them to engage in that stuff, right? If it's happening. So
because they don't have a parent like you. They don't have a parent like you teaching their children what's up. You feel me? There's a lot of, you know what I mean?
Or
actually a
maybe
big
they're
deal, yeah.
neglected, or maybe they're looking for attention. People behave a certain way for a reason, and a bracelet is not going to make her take anal. She's going to take it no matter what. If that's
well, no, see, this is what happened, right?
I'll
And so
agree
people
with
forget
that.
that children at a certain age, right? So it's late childhood on until early adulthood. Basically, they stop caring about. So through different parts of your development, kids care predominantly about one thing. So first, it's like their parents, right? Their parents, anything their parents say, that is law, right? And then eventually that's expanded to more like authority figures and stuff like that, right? And so like the police or the teachers, whatever, there's this greater, grander moral authority. But eventually around late childhood, kids are literally programmed. This is an evolved process, right? Kids are programmed to start caring almost solely about what their peer group thinks, because you need to be successful within your peer group. No matter what the other adults say and whatever, you have to be successful within your own peer group if you want to survive and reproduce. That's really what it comes down to. And so unfortunately, a lot of times, right, this is why it is so critical to have really great parents who teach their kids these things and have their kids armed with knowledge and information, because then kids feel less like they have to go along with things and whatever because they have the knowledge, right? But when you take curiosity, right, but you also take this stage of development where it's really important to fit in. It's so important to fit in, right? It's so important to be thought of as cool, to be thought of not as a narc or not as, these other negative types of things, right? To not be thought of as frigid and all these, it's amazing the things that earlier and earlier the generations are kind of learning, right? And so it's so important to them, right? And so we forget that when they engage in stuff, they're like, what? How's that even possible? Well, a lot of that has to do with the fact that someone was engaging with someone who was engaging with someone, and that's how it got back to their classroom, right? That's how that spread through their school. That's how it spread through their town or their city, right? And so we're forgetting that even if it's like, oh, well, maybe it didn't happen in your town or whatever. Great. I'm glad it didn't happen in your town. I'm glad it didn't happen to the kids in your town. I'm glad. Okay. But did it happen to the kids in mine? Yes, it did. Right. And I can tell you that the impact that had, I don't care if you believe me because I'm not talking directly to you, Ashley. Okay. And so unfortunately, that put some of these kids in a really bad position where either they engaged in something they weren't ready for before they were ready for it, right? Obviously, or something bad happened to them because they didn't think it was like serious. And this was never like a lack of consent bracelet. And yet somehow or another, some boy decided to take.
Ruby, your whole like, I'm curious genuinely. So the way that you're saying that this was actually a phenomenon that you can prove it is because you've had an anecdotal experience saying that it actually happened in your hometown.
Are you done? Okay, cool. So anyway, as I was saying,
I'm sorry, was that like super long-winded for you?
I'm just not responding to this anymore. Question. We already understand that you don't believe me, Ashley. That's great. Okay. Good for you.
So we're gonna So we're gonna move. So we're gonna move on. So Amazon has something to say. Then
I just want to say that it doesn't matter if it's a bracelet, if it's lipstick, if it's a party, if it's rumors, it doesn't matter. People are going to do what they do based on their psychology. Right? They're going to want things based on their psychology, based on their history, based on their family, based on everything. So if it wasn't a bracelet party, it would have been another reason why you're at a party. There's no adults there. You're alone with boys. You're not supposed to be there, right? Kids just engage in things. And it doesn't mean you're going to have sex. It doesn't mean everyone who wore a bracelet is going to make out.
Yes.
It's acceptance. It's just.
I agree with you.
Yeah. Because I can
absolutely. And I think that's why stories
hold on.
Just like with the Bible, to kind of tell us what we should and shouldn't do morally. It's a scare tactic. It's an urban legend. I'm just asking for actual proof that any of it happened. That's all.
One girl that was, the girl that was that hoe that was promiscuous. There's always a couple girls out of the school. Majority of the girls they had boyfriends. They weren't having sex. They were going to class. My badass was having sex, drinking alcohol, all kinds of shit. And that's based on right?
Did you go to lipstick parties and bracelet parties?
No.
Because they started in the year 2000 and the 90s. Apparently.
So I graduated in 99. But
girl, you
would have been right there in the prime, man.
Yeah, I was doing things, and they called
you didn't hear that then.
She said she graduated in 99, so like literally not, but okay.
Graduated in 99.
Ashun, hold on. Ashun, your thoughts? Ashun?
Ruby's salty.
I think we should move on from
No,
the
I just
child
think Ashley's
conversation.
annoying.
This is an adult conversation. It's kind of weirding me out going back and forth about children and the concept of sex right now. I don't think this is the time to really discuss that.
No, this is the topic I came in at the time because, like, I didn't, I just came in. That's what everyone was talking about. So I was giving my perspective, based on, hey, like, things changed and things continually to change, but things certainly changed between my generation and the generation that was 10 years younger. And talking about how that perception changed, you can actually take a look at just how the perception changed, as far as sex workers dating, and very openly dating, and like people these days, it's very different than it was, let's say 20 years ago, even though I have a friend right now who's having a big struggle. I told you about my one friend, right? But in general, you have a lot of people who say do OnlyFans or do other types of sex work and whatever, and they have husbands or they have long-term relationships, and it's fine, right? Because they're normally, again, in the Generation Z or young millennial type of generation, right? But because they're raised to think about these things differently and to not see sex work as like a crime, right? Or to not see women having sex as like, oh, women who've had 3 partners are disgusting, right? But men who've had 50 partners are wonderful. They're raised differently. They're cultured and they're conditioned differently. And so you're going to see that the outcomes that they experience are different than they were before. I'll say before the tech boom, right? Because the tech boom is really where people started being able to talk more about these types of
so
things.
anyways, I apologize that I brought it back to children, Miss Oshun. I do. I just find it important that we should fact check when we bring up things, because these are stereotypes that are perpetually just vomited all over us as a society. And I think that it's important to know when things are factual and when they're not. But that it was a petty point. Grey Pill, you were right. It was very petty of me, but I think that it's a deeper issue I find when I'm on these podcasts and these debates where people pull these, oh, trust me, bros, right out of their butts. And
I'm fine. No, we're fine with. Like, I can speak for all of us here.
I'm good to getting back on the topic.
No, you're good. I'm fine with having a conversation. If it's a disagreement or something, it's fine. You'll have that little mini back and forth. But when we say we gotta turn the page, like Oshun said, we gotta turn the page. So
I agree,
because we can't beat something up on for 2 hours. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, and then it just loses everything.
Correct.
I agree.
I think it's important if we talk about social media and whole culture and all that, we would bring up kids, because you're some people that would never ever show their ass on Instagram, and there's some people that don't care and they'll twerk all day, right? It's a mindset that you get from whether it's an experience or something, and it's not going to make people act a certain way. People are going to behave that way whether they want to or not, whether they put it on social media or not. It's going to happen. It's not now there's so many hoes, there's going to be more hoes. That's not how it works.
Is there a way to equate that to marital standards with the? Because I'm thinking back as me, and DL can correct me if I'm wrong. Back in the day, like what I broke my virginity 14. The kissy girl, get a girl. Like I was telling DL earlier, the kissy girl, get a girl was like 9, 10, 11. Right. This is how it was on my end. The notes you pass. Yeah, the notes you pass over, and it's like for me, this slowly builds from there. It's like, okay, I didn't know anything. It was like the guys we'll talk amongst the guys what was cool or what was in. Then it was that quote unquote peer pressure. But I didn't know anything what to do sexually. So now something's happening with me and this girl. Is like a whole nother conversation. But that was at the age of 15, building up to 14. So people was talking about around that time. But go ahead, DL.
I mean, again, it depends, depends on what area you came up in. Like, Sister Amazon is right. Technology really changed the game. Instagram really changed the game. Social media changed the game. So when I was coming up, I mean, when you go back to the late 70s into the 80s, right? It was, what did you have? You had TV, right? You had what? You had 3 networks, maybe 4, depending on where you live, right? There was no cable. What did you really have? There was what? There was print. Grown up, girly books and whatnot, right? That's it. So when it came to, okay, it was 2 games I can remember as kids. We would play hide and go get it and catch them, kiss them, or something like that. Kiss them, catchers, right? So what happened when you caught the girl? If she didn't like you because we were little, they were bigger than us. Right? Think about that. Girls go faster than boys. They were bigger than us. So if she didn't like you, she beat you up. You ain't kissing nothing. I don't care how fast you are, right? But if she liked you, she would give you a kiss, maybe a kiss on the cheek, maybe she let you kiss her neck, maybe she let you kiss her hand or whatever. But that was it. There was no touching. We didn't know about any of that. Why? Because we were slower.
There was.
Right. Oh, go ahead, Love.
I'm just saying there was all of that. There was teenage pregnancy. There were girls that.
No. But I'm gonna get into that too. But my point being, when we were little kids, like going all the way was getting a kiss. That was going all the way. Now, when you became a teenager, yeah, you knew what was up with sex. Right now,
yeah,
and it was
fourth grade. I was doing hunching.
And the pools and all that kind of stuff. But when it came to, I remember that's like just like dog, dog humping the air or whatever. Like
rubbing up against her, just like it's like you're pretending you do. Yeah, you call it hunching.
Yeah, well, that's a little bit that down south talking. That down south. Right there.
I'm hearing that. Mm-hmm.
So
heavy petting.
Whatever you don't call it. But
that's a new one.
Yeah, that's definitely a new one. But the point being, as we got older, right? I lost my virginity when I was in middle school, right? And when that happened, I had zero. I didn't know what I was doing. It was the young woman I was with who knew what she was doing. Where did she learn it from? She learned it from the 26-year-old dude that she was messing with, right? So, and then when I saw that, I was like, yo, this was crazy. Now, when I realized what it was, like now I know what sex is. It changed the way I saw the world, right? When I talk to these young guys, they think they want that, right? They get that. It's like, especially at a young age, I was not mentally prepared for that. I couldn't even look at little kids play it just woke you up, right? You talk about, being yanked out of the matrix. I was like, whoa, I ain't ready to be a grown up, right?
You know what's crazy? I'm sorry. It was crazy. I told somebody exactly that. And I remember in high school when I got it and I felt like I was getting a lot of it consistently. Boy, it was per one person, but I was happy with that. I literally told a homeboy, I was like, man, I think sex is overrated. He looked at me with the dumbest look on my face, like, you better shut your mouth. And I'm like, it's true. It's overrated.
Maybe he didn't know. I mean, as you got older and more people got on board. Yeah, like once you got older, more and more people got on board. It was what it was. But technology has changed to where now that 6-year-old, that 7-year-old, they know what it is. Right? They know. They've seen Kim Kardashian get her back blown out by Ray J. They've seen it. They see what's going on. No matter how hard your parents try to keep it from you, unless you homeschooling and all that kind of stuff, you literally got your child in a bubble. They are going to see it. You can't stop it. Right? So it forces them to grow up because they're seeing it. Maybe they're not feeling it, but they're seeing it. And then what are they going to want to do? Well, all the other boys are saying they smashing, which those boys are lying. You know what I mean? To the sister Lola's point, them dudes are lying. I realized that as a young age. Them boys, there was nobody smashing like that. None of them. None of the dudes. When I started talking to them, like all them dudes was lying to me. Why?
Everyone
because it's hard.
Lying.
Right. It's
Everyone
hard to get that. Exactly.
Do you remember that Little Kim song? Little Kim came out with that song, and she says that in the song. It was like one of those remakes of a song. But I remember she said, we used to talk about sex like we knew what was really going on, and we would lie about it all day until it was real, right? And it's like that was what it was, but no one knew. We didn't know that everyone else was lying, right? So, and that's part of the issue.
You weren't influenced to do it. You all lied. You just proved my point is that people don't actually do it. They're just trying to be cool. So it could be a bracelet, it could be a lipstick party. It doesn't mean you're going to engage in the act, right?
But could we agree that it's a higher propensity to do that now? I mean, because it's like, man, sex is out there, yo. It's out there. It wasn't this pronounced when I was a youngin'. But I look at these youngins now, they really getting it. You know what I mean? I'm like, you listen to some of these kids, it's like, man, they really out there getting it. So is that because of technology and the way society is now? Maybe it's because the parents are too busy. I don't know what the answer is, but you see what I'm saying? When I was younger.
Have you looked at teenage pregnancy rates and seen an increase?
No.
If you can find data,
I think there's a decrease in teenage pregnancy rates.
There's a decrease, right? And knowledge is power, and one of those things. And so is access to things like contraception. It's amazing, right? And having the knowledge again to know, hey, you know what? You can enjoy all this stuff. First base, second base, third base. Make sure it's always wrapped up if it's near you, because semen can enter you from outside to inside. Like giving the kids, information is golden, because it means that they're not going to get caught up. Because they wanted to have a little bit of fun or exploration, and oops, now they're 15 and pregnant, right? Which again was happening. Now the thing is, and I'm not sure why it's taken this way, as though somehow or another I ever said at any given point that every single child on the planet is now having sex at 8 years old. Like, I never said this, right? So the problem is, if you see an increase, no, I literally didn't. If you see an increase in,
she was asking, do you think whole culture I'm sorry, I only heard half you said. You mentioned about whole culture.
So then do you think whole culture or the Instagram or whatever is what's making girls want to have sex more, or what? Like I'm confused about what people think is influencing people to engage in sex.
I think one of the factors is the need to
desire.
belong. Yeah, I think one of the factors is the need to belong. I want to be one of the cool kids, and the cool kids say they're having sex. So let me look up sex on my phone. Okay, I see what it is. I'm going to do that, whether the cool kids are lying or not. Now you actually doing it. I think that's a factor, but there are many factors.
Like, I don't know, like, again, because everyone is putting a lot of words in my mouth or implications, attaching implications to things I never said. But just to be clear, I never said that hoe culture had something solely to do with women, because unfortunately, little boys are also engaging in like this sex culture where it's like, yo, you got to be down, you got to be about that life, you got to whatever, and then literally regretting it later. Okay. And so when I do women's retreats, right, or when I work with youth, right, in grief situations, right, a lot of them have these stories of times that they've engaged in something, not like someone took something from them. They willingly engaged in it, right? But they did it because they thought they were supposed to, right? Or because that's what you do, or because they were scared that if people found out they didn't do it, that they'd be called names, right? And they engaged in something they weren't ready for, that they didn't enjoy doing, but it's like, it's normalized. So the idea of it is so normalized, right? And I think the problem is there is a difference between the generation pre-technology boom and post-technology boom. A lot of us were talking shit. You know, kids do the same thing no matter what. But the difference is that when you were talking all of this noise, where was your access to get any of that real world information about the steps? How do you do this, that, or seeing the pictures, or, you know, like allowing sexualized things, like even naked boobs were to become hyper normalized for you, right? It was very difficult for some of this sex and sexuality to be so hyper normalized for younger and younger people, the way it's not that difficult now, because it's so accessible on the internet, right? Just in general, it's so accessible on the internet. And the more accessible it is on the internet, the more that people in general are becoming, and I'm not just talking about kids, but just everyone in general is becoming a little more desensitized. And so therefore TV shows and advertising and whatever, they've got to up the ante to get people to tune in and for, you know, their whatever to have the same impact. And that's how you're seeing these increases in sexuality being blasted across everything, everywhere.
Hold on, Ruby. Go ahead, Amazon.
You're saying two things at the same time. Sometimes it's like nothing can influence someone to do something unless there's something that they want or it's lacking, right? So you can throw something at anyone all the time, but their psychology is what's going to make them decide, I'm going to do this. So why are you 13, 14, and 15? And because everyone's having sex, you want to have sex. There's something missing there, right? What do you want to do? You're important. You do what you want. You don't let other people influence you, blah, blah, blah. So it's also about what you're exposed to and what you believe in and who you can talk to. These are all things that contribute to you engaging in things. I was born in 81 and I was neglected. I didn't have my family around, but they had money. And I looked for attention and I gave it to anybody. And I was sexually assaulted when I was younger. So I didn't value sex the way that someone else might value sex, right? And so because of that, I went and did things, but it had nothing to do with TV or people putting music videos that I watched, going to parties, nothing. It was all about attention.
Right. And so you didn't grow up in the technology boom, right? It happened around the time that you were a little bit older, right? You're coming into adulthood, right? Because you're a millennial. And so, right. But the thing is, right, we can't ignore the fact that things have an impact, right? Just because it didn't impact you because it didn't even exist while you were a child growing up, right? Doesn't mean that these things are not impacting the youth because they do exist in their childhood, right? Like
what I'm saying is that anything can impact a child. You can't
absolutely anything can. And when we find that there's a correlation and something is impacting children, right, and it is impacting society as a whole, right, then it's worth mentioning. Like I'm not sure why like you would even find that this is super problematic. Like,
hold on, go ahead, Amazon. I didn't catch.
That's all, because I find that we're putting the blame on things when that's not the issue. When I was younger, there wasn't computers around, but I still had access to porn and magazines and sexuality and peer pressure and all those things, and so did everybody else. It might come in different forms, but it's still present no matter what. So you're going to make that choice. It doesn't have to do with because we're in 2023 now and it's all over Instagram. That's not what's going to make a child decide, I want to go have sex now.
right?
No, first of all, we're talking about children like children are adults, and they're not, right? And this is why children, for example, cannot consent, right? Because there's a lot of things happening in development, right? A lot of centers of their brain, for example, that are not finished developing. Their ability to reason out, for example, like just the consequences of an action that they're taking now, right? Their ability to control themselves, impulse control, right? Their ability to prioritize. Like there's a lot of things that are happening, right? And there's also a bunch of learning mechanisms that are on in your brain depending on what age you are, right? That's why I talked about specifically once you hit late childhood, that mechanism in your brain that attaches authority to someone, it starts shifting towards the group. Okay. Now, your group and who your group is obviously going to have a huge impact, therefore, on what you think is cool, what you think is this, what you think is that, right? Right. Well, this is where a lot of people don't realize is that they need to instill a lot of stuff in their kids by the age of like 7. Okay. And a lot of people fail to do that. And then when their kids hit 12 or 13, now they suddenly want to instill this stuff and they get a lot of, either just being ignored or being told to shut up or they don't get it or whatever it is. Right. And it's because, again, there's these learning mechanisms that go on in your brain. Right. And so, again, this is not like, I don't know, it's not like a shaming thing against anybody. It just is the way human beings evolved, right? And so again, normally, right, around the age of late childhood, kids are hyper focused on the peer group, right? And that's why you'll see differences depending on what the groups are and what's going on in those groups.
Yeah, but wasn't it like that before? Because again, it goes back to what Amazon's saying. Like, without everything,
it's always been like that. It's always been the case that kids will hyper focus on their peer group around the age of late childhood, right, until early adulthood. So what are children doing at, 11 years old now that they weren't doing 30 years ago?
Okay, right? We're good. I think we're saying the same thing. We're pretty much all saying that pressure with kids. DL said that. Amazon agree with that, except for Amazon is saying, hey, parents need to be more involved with their kids. She's who she is. Her daughter knows that, but guess what? Her daughter is actually in what people society, hey, it's okay for standards goes. Her daughter's good, but at the same time, Amazon like, look, but my daughter understands. Love yourself, respect yourself. Whoever comes to your circle,
do what you want to do.
Yeah, do what
you're consensual. You're not getting taken advantage of. Whatnot. You're safe. All that. But the thing is that it doesn't. To me, it doesn't matter what. Now that you're saying things are different, right? Kids have access to their peer groups. Who's the peer group that they would want to be having sex and trying drugs and doing all this stuff, right? You're hanging around a certain type of group, right? And unfortunately, kids go through things, they act a certain way. So as a mom and a dad, why is your daughter even in that peer group? We're not involved with our kids as much as we should be.
I agree with you. I'm not disagreeing with that. I agreed with that at the very beginning.
A 6-year-old should not be on an iPad for 3 hours alone.
I agree.
And Instagram, right? So it's not the social media or whatever. All that stuff's there regardless. It's the access to it, and it's the parenting, and it's the watching, and it's the babysitting, and it's the not telling your kids, explaining things, and that's what I think it is. So
yeah, learning to adapt.
But you're like literally, the thing is that to say that parents need to be more involved and parents need to stop letting social media or pads or screens babysit their children or raise their children for them, that is 100% valid, right? That doesn't invalidate the idea, though, that when you look at the way where society is now, because if you were a kid in the 90s, right, early 90s or the late 80s, you could have also been raised by screens, right? The television, right? And what the television was offering to children or to people, to society on a whole, was very different in 1990 than it is today, right? And your access to things on demand, right? Very different than it is, then versus now, right? So again, when we're looking at greatly different.
So
I mean, damn, most television stations used to turn off at a particular time. You guys remember that? When television stations used to turn off at a particular time?
Do you remember it's 10 o'clock? Do you know where your children are?
Yeah, exactly. I remember that too. I remember seeing pictures on a milk carton. I remember seeing kids' pictures on the milk carton. Have you seen me?
Yeah, for real.
Mm-hmm. I got access to what I wanted and what I was interested in. I had a floppy disk I stole from someone's mom. That was like a porn floppy disk. The screen was black and you had to type in.
Porn on floppy disk?
Yeah. Do this to my running headlights. Like it was.
That's legit.
Yeah. I got access to my mom's porn. I got access to that 11 o'clock show when you stay up too late and you watch those dirty blue movies after 10 on channel 7.
Red Shoe Diaries.
All that stuff. So.
It's not possible.
But if your mindset's there, kids get whatever they want to get and get access to whatever they want.
But if your mindset's not there, because here's the thing, right? So you're talking about
I'm
yourself.
gonna get you the final thought. Then we're gonna go ahead.
If your mind's not there, then why are you watching it? You're gonna be watching. If my daughter's not interested,
Kids are curious about everything. Kids ask why and what and curious.
I don't know.
You're not giving.
I thought I got to get my final thought off. So
I'm sorry. No, you're all. I just want to make it known that this is final thought. So Ruby, go ahead. Then
Okay.
Ashley, then Miss O'Shawn, then I wanted to be in the order of Ashley, Ruby. Yeah. So since you already go ahead and talk.
Oh no, let Ashley go. I don't want to steal her thunder. Go ahead.
Okay. All right. Everybody throwing the jabs. I love the petty. Ashley, are you there?
Yeah. So
final thoughts with the topic, the subject, and the conversation. And then we're gonna
absolutely. I think overall it was a really good conversation. Truly,
I did too.
I enjoyed it overall. I think that there's my personal feeling, and I don't think I hid it. I didn't try to hide it. Is that I think that when we get way too, and I know that this is just the terms and whatever, people are going to go off and do what they want. But when we get too woke, we kind of actually forget what real life is, and that we're dealing with multi-generations here, and that we have to combine everybody into one, and you have to somewhat be a realist. And so I think a big turning point for me in the panel was just a lot of what, in my opinion, was jargon that is thrown around a lot by certain groups of people nowadays that are trying to push certain agendas. And I just think that in no way is it healthy, nor does it help, right? Like, I think that if we can come to some kind of common ground and have an actual real conversation about things without making everything this big, political or like super, new aged psychological, like kind of point of view, because you're going to reach more people that way, because the majority of the American populace is not going to react, nor are they going to relate with your BS, is basically kind of where I kind of dropped off on the panel because I got bored. But I loved it overall. Don't really care for Ruby. I don't think that that's hidden. I like Amazon. I like Miss O'Shawn, DL Saint. It's been real. Grey Pill, you're amazing. Thanks for having me on. I honestly behaved so well. I only dropped the F-bomb twice, and I only insulted one of your guests. So that's a W for me. I'm going to stay on, and I'm going to listen to closing thoughts. Enjoyed it overall, though, guys.
Oh, thank you. And to response to Ashley, yes, she did very good in other contents that she went to. She's an animal over there. But I will say this in response to her. Yeah, but that's also it. It will work out because people need to have the conversations, and I have to pretty much echo this. Me and Dia, right? We don't know each other. We've been on opposing, I wouldn't say really opposing, but we've been on pretty much the same panels, and pretty much Suzette Speaks, shout out to her, where I will come in on the opposing side of a conversation. He has also, we actually ended off on opposing side of the conversation, but we're pretty much on the same of like I get where you're coming from, you get what I'm coming from. We don't always have to agree, but the perfect example to set was we can agree to disagree, we can have an understanding, and let's move on, turn the page. And what came out of it? Hey, let's do great things together if possible. That part. So with that being said, boom, DL, Mr. Saints.
That's what's up. Yeah, facts. What you say, you hit it right on. You hit it right on the nail on the head. Like I don't surround myself with like-minded people. I don't believe in echo chambers. You feel me? So when I talk to folks, like what Brother Grey Pill is saying right now, you know what I mean? Obviously, Grey Pill was like, oh man, he's one of them hardcore red pillars and all this. Suzette was the same way. Then we got to know each other. You know what I mean? Yeah. Suzette and I we've become fast friends. You know what I mean? Grey Pill and I, it's like, yeah, I could tell he's gonna be one of the homies, especially in these YouTube streets, because we're able to have these conversations. We're able to pick each other's brains, right? We're able to like I said, to agree to disagree. And here's the thing: Grey Pill and I probably agree on 85% of this topic, and so that's just that little space that we don't disagree. And it's not, you know what I mean? I want to hear what you have to say. You know what I mean? I want to listen to it. I'm like, you know what? Because you might tell me something that I missed, and I can better myself. We were talking about Andrew Tate messing with little girls. I'm like, bro, ain't no talking around that. If he's messing with little girls, he's through. You know what I mean? Put him under the jail. You know what I mean? Do something to him. But you know, but it's not an echo chamber. You know, I'm a full grown man. You know, with respect to society, the way it is today in the developed world, right, especially in the West, right, we are victims of our own success, in my opinion. Right, there's not enough strife in the world. No, everyone does not get a trophy. I'm here to tell you. And the thing is this. Right, when you talk about woke culture and all this kind of stuff and all this talk about genders, there's all these different genders, which is a hilarious to me, and the flat earth and all the rest of it. These conversations aren't going on in Ukraine right now, are they? Russians and Ukrainians are over there dying. They don't even want to hear all this stuff right now because the world is real to them right now. It's real. It's real in the Sudan, right? It's real. It's real in parts of Central and South America. It's real. You know what I mean? When you don't have clean water, right? When you don't have roof over you, no proper shelter, when you live in a place where the police have no power, like in Mexico, and the gangsters run everything, it's real. I'm not wishing we get that in America, right? But until there's some sort of real strife, this ain't gonna go nowhere. You know what I mean? So our society has definitely changed, right? Some would argue for the better, some will argue for the worse, some will say, it's kind of right there in the middle. We'll wait and see, where it ends up. But respect to, marriage standards today, I will end with this. Women control sexual access, men control relationships. Period. So, period. You know what I mean? So
Repeat that last thing you just said.
Women control sexual access. Men control relationships. Period.
It depends on the woman.
He's a red pillar.
They say that. And the thing
No, I know. I honestly didn't. I wanted to make sure I heard it. Yeah.
So the thing is this. So when I talk to young women, right? And I talk to dudes too. When I talk to young women, I'm like, bro, and I said it tonight, and I'm gonna say it again, right? Plausible deniability only works when there's no proof. Do what you gonna do. Have your fun. Get it in. You know what I mean? Get it in. But
why do you care about what a woman does with her vagina before she knew you, though? I don't get it.
No. I'm just basic closing thoughts. I sent you an Instagram, sister, Amazon. I sent you a message. Check it. You know what I mean? Because I definitely want to talk to you. I'm very, very curious to hear your story. So, but then you can actually probe my mind, like I said. So, but the thing is this: do what you're gonna do, but keep it in the closet. Yeah, it's a double standard. If women get all these bodies, they say that she's a bad seed. If dudes gets all these bodies, he's a stud. It is a double standard. It sucks, right? But most double standards do not benefit men. In this particular society right here in this country in the first world. Right. So, I just kind of leave it there. But
I think depends, on the man.
It of course. And there's a conversation. I mean, I hate to leave it there, but you kind of drop a seed and leave. It's like, let that forward jump up and we can come in here and talk about it. But you know what I mean? But
I love it.
Yeah, but when it comes to marriage standards and relationships, I tell the young women, I say, hey, love, I'm sorry. If dude finds out you smashed 100 guys, if he finds out this top tier guy that you want, this perfect man, guess what?
About dick a lot.
Here's the thing. He there's a really good chance that he's gonna leave you alone because he has options. Now the dudes in the bottom tier dudes, the dudes you don't see, that guy would take you. I don't care if you had 1,000 bodies. I don't care if you smashed everybody in his family.
You should have led with that when Amazon came in, because this could be a whole nother conversation.
Right. I see high value men for a living because those are the people that have money to pay me.
And that's why I want to talk to you. But
they ain't high value, honey.
Come on. No, you're right. Listen, I'm with you. I'm just dropping that. Like I said, we drop that seed, let the forest grow. We can come in here and get to the weed whacker. I want to have that conversation with you, love, but I can't do it now because we're doing final thoughts. But I just wanted to leave with that. You know what I mean? That's right. I come in there, I drop bombs and stir it all up. I'm ready, but I'm ready for the smoke.
High value man. I'm just gonna say that there's no such thing. That was something that was created so that young silly girls believe you and give you free pussy. That's all it's for.
And I prefer the term top tier. We can have this conversation. It'll be I can't wait to have that conversation. So thanks, bros. Thanks for bringing me on. Thanks for having me on to the chat. Shout out to y'all.
I told you, DL. Everybody got. Hey, I told you, DL. Everybody got brains in this panel.
Yeah, DL, I'm super glad to have gotten to actually have a somewhat conversation with you.
Yeah,
very nice.
He's red pill. He's not a jerk, Like,
Yeah.
He's not a jerk. It's another one out there too, Amazon. He was on the panel before. We talked about redlining. He just don't believe in it, but that was a whole nother conversation.
Don't be telling people I'm nice. I got a reputation to uphold, man. You better tell them I'm crazy. Don't be hurt. Don't be hurting me up.
Miss O'Shun, I appreciate it, man. Miss O'Shun, you can long stroke it. Everybody else doing it. Jesus. And I want to say, Miss Lola, you've been so good. I'm so proud of you. But as soon as I catch you and we on lock, boy, it's on.
You know she's dangerous, so she's quiet.
Nah, she's argumentative in a positive way. I'll say that.
Hey, I always people don't believe me when I say I keep my pads here when I be.
Now you can clip this to him. Say, hey, I'm being feminine and submissive. There you go. Yay.
Does Miss O'Shun have a channel? Do you do content, Miss O'Shun?
I do. I have several channels. Well, one is old, two are new. Very new channels.
Can you drop it in the private chat? I'd love to follow you. I really, really enjoyed all of your takes. I agreed with you from the very first statement you made tonight. I want to hear more. Just please, and thank you.
I'll drop it in there.
Thank you.
All of it in there.
Right.
I'll say, as it relates to marital standards, right? Marital standards have never been the same because they're not meant to be the same. And we're going to have to be okay with that. As much as you may be Christian and feel that your version of Christianity or Islam or Judaism or Sufism, whatever the case may be, should be the standard because it works for you. Sadly, it is not. And none of your religions tell you to make other people's religion your standard and vice versa. So respect your religions and stop trying to push it on other people by way of judgment. Okay, just stop. I mean, it's written in your books. Stop judging each other because you got enough, splinters in your eye. For one, okay. I also want to say that I think married couples are dropping the ball because one good thing that we used to have that I think we should keep, because there's a lot of stuff that go out the window, but something that we should keep is we used to have what's called an underground. Okay, and that underground was where all of the certain things went on, where it could go on outside of the eyes of people that didn't need to see it, because my sexual life is my sexual life, right? However, it can damage someone else if it comes down on them the wrong way at the wrong time, obviously, if it's someone underage. But it's not damaging me because I'm an adult. So I think married couples have to get back to keeping their married life private, even celebrities. You do not owe everybody an explanation about your personal relationship, even if you are a celebrity. If you must give a statement because it's so shocking, keep it to a minimum in terms of your personal life that has to do with your wife or your husband, and leave it at that. It's no need to really discuss more. When you do add more, this is what happens. You pollute the rest of society. And now we're wondering, I know someone's wondering, well, what is marriage turning into? This is the problem. Married couples, if you're out there, okay, and I know it's not many of you guys, but you need to start representing your sexual proclivities between the two of you should only be known by the two of you and maybe the underground group that you're associated with. Not everyone on the internet. If you want clout for it, make sure it's within your respective groups. Not for everyone. Everyone doesn't need to know that, because when they do know that, you will never live that down, as we see right now. I'll just say that outside of that, for single people, okay, because it's not just married couples, it's single people too. I do understand what Ruby was trying to get at in terms of social media. And although we're using the phrase social media, what's happening is the human psyche is being affected differently by being able to have access to so many people. The like button does something to our brains, a bunch of stuff. Just earlier today, I was looking down the street and I seen a lady twerking like extra hard, like she was just bent over, and I couldn't tell if she was drunk or if she was high, but she was like really doing, and it was no one around. There was no one around. The street was clear, it was quiet. She was just twerking, no music. And then she stood up and then she grabbed the phone from where I couldn't see it, and she's like, and just walked away. And I'm like, no one's seeing you do that. You did it literally for nothing. Like like you did it so you could get a like. And meanwhile, you're not even the type of female that really gets paid for doing that. And that's another thing. If you're a stripper, be a good stripper. Stop allowing people to take that lifestyle and just make it, I don't know, like water.
Perverse, I
Like,
guess.
yeah, just like it's like, listen, that lifestyle belongs in the club. Okay. That's where it was best at, in the club. Now that everybody's doing it, why are we going to clubs? I'm just saying, if you're in that industry, you should be representing, and you should just be representing.
I feel like we should have music playing right now.
I'm I'm so sincere. Like, I'm tired of little girls walking around, or even grown women. Every woman got to have on stripper shoes with every outfit. It's like, listen, stripper shoes belong in that world, not at the mall and at Walmart. Like, that's not where it belongs. So it's like, keep it there. It's like, just represent for your people, for goodness sake. I mean, I'm not. I obviously I don't work in that industry, but it's like right now I can't tell the difference between someone in that industry and someone that just likes to have a page on Instagram. Like, it's all over the place right now.
You should go to strip clubs. There's definitely a difference.
I don't know exactly what to say about why people are plastering it everywhere, but I'm gonna say this: there was a time when that lifestyle was respected in its proper respect, meaning you had to go to a place to indulge in that lifestyle, and that place was protected in a sense, right? Versus now, the problem is, I don't want my children being exposed to a culture and a lifestyle that should be private. Like, that's all anyone is asking from the next person. Just like in the married couples, your life is your private life. I don't need to know what goes on inside of your private life. I really don't. The minute you force it on my ears, I can't not remember it. And this is what's happening. Keep your private life private. Individuals, everybody don't need to know what your private parts look like. And I mean, if you want to dance, get paid for it. Stop doing this whole Instagram like YouTube thing. Just like, go actually get paid for what you're doing, and just stop spreading it all over the place. I don't judge you for doing it. I'm just saying, do it in its proper place. That's all. So I don't want to berate the point, but I just think that whether you're married, single, working in any industry or whatever, keep it G for real. Stop allowing stuff to be everywhere.
All right,
Can I ask a really quick question, Miss Oshun? So you basically, what you're saying is, you don't really have any kind of problem or moral dilemma with any of this stuff. You are just a fan of privacy.
Yes.
Just pro privacy. Pro privacy. All right.
Pro privacy.
Shout out to you. Ruby, final thoughts, madam. Madame.
All right. Well, mentioned briefly a couple different points that I kind of started and never got to really finish. And so, I'm going to start with the idea of what is marriage then? And, people are saying, well, what's the purpose of marriage if? And I was like, well, here's the thing. Marriage has looked different, or at least this idea of unionship between, a man and a woman, right? Because since 10,000 years ago has looked different in countless ways. And sometimes that is more monogamous relationships for a lifetime. Sometimes that's more monogamous relationships for periods of time. Sometimes that is polygamy. Sometimes that is polyandry. And I know that a lot of men buck when you mentioned the periods of time in humanity when polyandry was really a thing, but it really was a thing. And, different types of environments would dictate that would be the best possible strategy for humans at that time. And so generally, and sometimes polyamory at different stages might be the best possible thing. And so I think the thing is that, again, we keep trying to equate the moral idea of what marriage is to what's actually functional and purposeful, and saying that it's the same thing, and it's not really the same thing. And I think that doesn't help us much, right? Because again, it's making us judge Adam and his wife, who are both sex workers, as though they are not, right? Because we're putting ourselves in their shoes, even though we're not sex workers, and saying, well, if it was me, but dude, everything else about your life, your income, everything would have to be different for you to even be able to make that comparison, right? And then not only are we making the comparison, but we're judging them, right? And we're saying they're wrong, they're bad. Adam's a cuck, and she's a cheater, and she's a liar, and they're gonna break up. And so much judgment, right? And it's because, again, we're not actually looking at what is the purpose of marriage, what is the value of marriage, right? And so the value of marriage is like openness, honesty, integrity. These two people who are deciding, that two people, or maybe multiple people, who are deciding to come together to do this thing called life, and to try to do it as successfully as possible, right? And I think when you actually use that definition, suddenly you understand that the things that these two individuals need might vary greatly from what it is that you need, but that doesn't make them wrong for them having that discussion and engaging in that, right? You have people like Destiny and Melina, who are on YouTube as well, right? And they're poly, they're fully poly, but they're married, right? And people have that same discussion, and it's like, well, but why? If they are happy, right? If they've dictated the terms of this relationship and it's making them happy and functional, productive members of society, they're being productive parents, the whole nine. Why is it that we have the right to say that, well, hey, my concept of monogamy or my concept of what marriage is trumps what works for you and what you've defined in your relationship? So I think that is a little bit crazy. And I think we need to stop all the moral grandstanding, especially when the majority of the people who are doing the moral grandstanding either have never been married or have been married, been in these long-term relationships where they lie, they cheat, they do all these other things that look exactly the same, only with a lot more or a lot less integrity and a lot more lying, right? So I definitely wanted to say that. The second thing I wanted to say literally had to do with, again, to identify that something is affecting society, right? Like, for example, social media or television and the standards. I mean, we can literally track that, the standards, you couldn't curse, you couldn't this, you couldn't that. I mean, there's so many different standards that have changed over, the decades, right? Just in my lifetime alone, how many things have changed. And, we can look at that and say, hey, guess what? Listen, things have changed a lot, and the access, the never-ending access that we have has increased exponentially. These things they're just true, right? Now, does that mean that, well, hey, parents shouldn't have to parent their children? Like, no, that was never true. It wasn't true in the 90s or the 80s or 70s, and it's still not true now, right? Now, part of the issue is that people can really only do what they know how to do. And a lot of people don't know how to do this thing called parenthood because they didn't have effective parents either, right? And then I don't know what the answer is for that. But what I do know 100% for sure is that when you have society that can inundate you with so much more, so much quicker, right? Like, you're spoiled for options at the tip of your fingertips. Like, you don't have to go to a library and pull out a book to learn something, or, you don't have to know what microfiche is or whatever, when I think about that, when we have to realize that, yeah, that's going to have an impact. Right. And so what you are teaching your kids and from how early you're teaching your kids is definitely going to have to differ. Now, I think that definitely parents who have been like integral, they've been really involved in their kids' lives from early on, teaching them these roles, because you can't like predict every single thing that technologies can come up with and whatever, right? But teaching them values about themselves, about how to honor, and find integrity in themselves and how they move and how they live and the decisions they're making and whatever, right? But also trusting them, I think, would be kind of like the goal. I think a lot of people don't know how to do that because that's not how they were raised. And, I think, or, they're helicoptering, they're too scared to let go and trust. I don't know what the solution is for that. But I do think that definitely, since we don't have the solution for that, and the majority of parents try their best, but their best might not be good enough. I don't know. Do I think that we have to change society and limit access and turn everything down? No, like, I don't think that's the answer either. I think we just, there needs to be better understandings, and like even psychology researchers, my area, we know that we don't actually have the knowledge. We don't have all of the answers yet, because everything changed when the tech boom started, right? So, a lot of times we are relying on self-report from parents, from students, from kids. We're relying on people to tell us, hey, how did this affect you and what happened then and whatever. And so when I'm talking about some of these things, it's because I've been part of those studies. I've taken part in these types of things, and I've collated the data. So, unfortunately, can I prove every little thing I say when I'm talking about my direct personal experiences when I was, 20 years old, 22 years old? No, I can just tell you that really happened to me, but I would never call any one of you a liar for your own personal experiences and you bringing those to the table and explaining how, when it affected your demographic in your city, your town, your country, whatever it is, that it was a big deal. And this is how it affected people. I would never sit there and call any of you a liar, because all that does is shut down discussion, and then that just shuts down progress.
Yeah, I apologize if I made you feel any way. I totally hear what you're saying.
No, definitely not. I like pushback, to be honest with you. Mm-hmm. I really do. So, when you came with the pushback, you'd be like, wait, what? Okay, I have to answer that. You know what I mean? So it wasn't you. I mean, obviously it's very clear that me and Ashley don't get along. We didn't get along in the last panel we were on together. Clearly we still don't.
I don't remember being on a panel with you. You keep saying that. When were we on a panel together?
What is
I don't remember ever.
It sounded like y'all was on a panel in the past. I didn't know y'all was on a panel.
I didn't know
and she didn't like that I was saying whore. That was really what the issue was.
I love the word whore. That you kept saying that, and I was like, who are you talking about? Like, I never.
And your partner, the woman that was up there with you, because we were both invited to the same panel. It was a guy. He's part of the manosphere.
A guy and a woman in the manosphere. I don't know.
And Melody, me and Sweet Melody.
Kings of Dreams.
There you go. Damn, that was 3. You're talking about Kings and Dreams. You're talking about Andrew. No, Kings and Dreams. I thought you were talking about Andrew.
I need to watch this.
Andrew, the Andrew show. That's what it was. The Andrew show.
Okay, got you.
Yeah.
Okay, well, she did. She was in the Black Minister. There you go. Ashley got your cherry pop. Good for you. All right, Amazon.
Okay, I have a couple of things. Okay, well, first I just want to address, I understand when your position, Ruby, but I also believe that your own experiences influence your beliefs, even if you studied and collated data, because data is pulled from certain places. Data can be, more on one side than the other. 2 people could do the same study and have different people and come up with the opposite, right? Mm-hmm. So I get it. My opinion is different based on the data that I have in my experience, but I'm not pulling away from your experience. I also think that anybody who has to call themselves high value is not high value. You don't want to telling people that you're high value. And also, when it comes to people judging people's marriages, I do think a lot of it is based on Christianity. Like a lot of people are Christian and they go before God and they get married by a priest. And so that idea that you should be monogamous and your wife shouldn't be promiscuous or you shouldn't fornicate and all this stuff, I think that that's where a lot of people get their judgment from, based down. And so they cast judgment because it just makes them feel superior. It's all about that. Why do you care what's going on in someone else's marriage? So that's just my opinion about that.
Wow, fair enough. All right.
100% agree with the high value man thing, though, because that's just a made up term that Kevin Samuels made up in essence to have.
Excuse me, Ruby. Excuse me. I currently had 2 women. They was on a 4K, so I can't do like the other guys and clip it and claim it. But I did have 2 women claim me as high value in a group.
Well, no, I'm just saying that the terminology.
I never asked for it.
Terminology. No. I'm just saying.
No, not high value. It was alpha. I think it was. No, it was high value. My bad. I apologize. It was, but
or high quality. That's the thing. High value man. Look like 10 years ago. That term didn't exist, right? Kevin Samuels invented.
We know it's that whole
you
YouTube.
Would have an even frame of reference, right? It's not a real thing.
Yeah, it's like the dance. It was for I'll say maybe 30 years back for me. People did it was the give it up. Now they call it the twerking. It's the same stupid move, but everybody put a different spin or whatever name on it. Same thing with the rapping, whatever. So I think we all agree that's the most dumbest term out there. It just cringe because it's in YouTube, and we just unfortunately this is the part of the Matrix that Andrew Tate's talking about, not his perverse version of the Matrix. So I don't know what that is, but between him, Pearly Things, and Real Femme Sapien, I will be on they next. Those are the only ones I will be having conversations about all the time. So I'm not letting those go.
Oh, Femme Sapien. Blah, blah, blah.
I'm not letting those go. Okay, so let me put my ugly face up here. Let me drop everybody. But Ashley, thank you for coming through. I appreciate you.
Hey, for real, thank you. Thank you, Ruby. Thank you, Amazon. Thank you, Miss Ocean. You guys are awesome. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you.
It was a lot of fun.
It was.
Really was.
Lola, thank you. I appreciate you coming on through. So again, everybody got fame. So if Ruby and Amazon can stay till last minute, and then I will talk to you when it's over. Thank you.
Okay.
I'll drop y'all. Let me get my ugly face in here. Yeah, because I know I'm ugly. Why are you laughing at ugly people? That's so rude. Anyhow, yeah, so the definition, what I Googled and put up, what is the marital standard of living? ? Marital standard of living refers to the degree of comfort to you and your spouse enjoying during marriage. That includes home you live in, the vacation you took, and etc., etc. Keep that in mind. So, me personally, I don't care what you do. If you're not deleting somebody, if you're not taking a life, if you're not going on the way, you're harming somebody, right down to the drugs you take. If you're trying to do some self-affliction on your own, cool, great, do you. I will pray for you and hope everything will. It kind of goes back to the last conversation of the other day where we had, you can definitely check it out. We talk oversharing between Night Talk, between Mediocre Tutorials, and a conversation that was on, I forgot her name, but Angela Yee from The Breakfast Club. Everybody just love to overshare. If the conversation is about the conversation, keep it the conversation. If your niche is about your niche, keep it there. There's no rhyme or reason you have to go out the box and talk about a family member that, passed away. May they rest in peace. There's no reason for you to, if your niche is about relationship, there's no reason to give extra added information about yourself if a loved one passed away. Too much is too much with the oversharing. Again, if anybody don't understand Adam 22 from day one of his development up to now, then you are a fool. It's a business with his wife that happened to be in the business. So together they are in the business for the business. It's a gimmick, it's a ploy, even down to the individual, which happened to be a race that they picked. Get over it. It is what it is, and even down to the people in the group that's around him, it's another gimmick. Okay. So with that being said, I think it is safe to say the moral of the story is mind your business. If you're not married, it's not for you. Marriage is different for every individual. DL said itself, based on the individual. So if my marriage is my marriage, we're happy, we're content, we're good. We should not have to explain anything to nobody. Unfortunately, he chose to do that. But guess the reason why he did? Ask yourself that. What's the reason why? I believe the reason why he did that, for more exploitation. That's it. More clout. More gimmicks. It just happened with his wife. Now he got time to talk about it and dig into it on his platform. That's it. So with that being said,
people keep asking if I'm back, and I haven't really had an answer. But now, yeah, I'm thinking I'm back.
At last.
The king's back and the throne's mine. The future's here and it's my time. Straight shot, going for the head with it. Take his head off and say that I did it. Good riddance. Say hi to the bad guy back in business. If you took what's mine, I'm back to get it. There's nothing you can do. I'm back with vengeance. Now turn me loose. Now turn me loose.